You found the coolest place to be, the PlayStation Collectors. And come on, won't you stay with me? Welcome to the show. Gather around the boys and girls, collectors from around the world. Let's show the people what they need to know. Welcome to the show. Gonna talk to guests, only got the best. Gonna put their knowledge to the test. Gonna laugh and eat, gonna listen, dream, gonna show you things you've never seen. Gonna sing the song to the break of dawn. Gonna run this party all night long. So come on everybody, let me see you dance. Get yourself ready for one more chance. You found the coolest place to be, the PlayStation Collectors. And come on, won't you stay with me? Welcome to the show. Gather around the boys and girls, collectors from around the world. Let's show the people what they need to know. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Yo, yo, yo.
Hey, hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the PlayStation Collectors Podcast. My name is Joe Rad. This is Season 4, Episode 8. I got one for you too, Reggie. I hope you're ready. Joining me today, all the way from Australia, is Figsy. How you doing, Figsy?
Hey, hey. How's it going, guys?
Good to see you. And joining us again, back as special co-host, Mr. Radical Reggie. That's right. Got you going.
Nice.
And then our special guest this evening is the one, the only, Mr. Mystic Ryan. How you doing, buddy?
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Welcome in, Ryan.
I was kind of hoping that would be a PlayStation 3 orchestra startup, but I'll take the applause.
Oh man, see if I'd been prepared, it would have been good. I got let me see what else I got. I got fart noises, toilet noises. You can pick one real quick. I got Chewbacca.
Good option so far.
That's what you get. How about this?
Shop smart. Shop S-Smart.
That's right. Ash.
Yeah, it's pretty much like 90% of my sound effects were just stuff,
Plateau.
to be honest with you.
Miranda.
That's pretty much all you need, to be honest with you. But yeah, welcome to the show, everybody. Glad to have you here. I've decided to gather all the PlayStation royalty from YouTube into one place at one time. I'm like what's his name from the Avengers there. I'm trying to build the Avengers team in the background. That's my goal is I'm going to try to bring everybody together, and we're going to have like this giant panel, and we're going to rule the world. It's going to be pretty awesome.
But it's going to become the biggest YouTube without a YouTube video on YouTube.
That's my plan. That's my plan. Yeah. I already have like an ungodly amount of watch hours with like no subscribers. It's really funny. So I meet a lot of guys. They're like, I have like thousands of videos, and they're like, oh, I just need some watch hours. I'm like, that's all I have. I have so many.
Last time.
Yeah. So speaking of which, PlayStation Collectors Podcast. I figured we start off with just something, kind of light. Like we're all kind of PlayStation dudes here. And I just wanted to like start off with everybody's opinion on like what drew you to the PlayStation? Like why is it your favorite? Like I know everybody likes to collect other things, and a lot of people think that if you like one thing, you're not allowed to like other things, which I always find that very interesting. But I'm just curious, like what it is for everybody that drew you to the PlayStation. Let's just go in a circle. Figsy, why don't you go first?
Well, I think this, I can make a very complicated answer, but the simple answer for me is when I was a kid, my parents bought me a PS1. They bought me the PS2. So I grew up with the PlayStation. When I was a young adult at university, I wanted cheap video games. And then the options were PS3, Wii, or 360. And then when I was looking at buying games, all the PS3 games weren't full of scratches. So for me, I'm like, I'll just go with that option. And I just fell in love with it. So that's the simple answer, definitely.
Right on.
Pretty cool. What about you, Ryan? What made you think I'm going to make PlayStation-oriented content?
Well, that's a different answer from how I got into it. Because that would have been that would have been a similar answer to Figsy. I grew up with it. I think it's sort of the natural step a lot of young kids have is what you're the most partial to is what you possibly grew up with. So we had a PlayStation 1 in the household. As far as like the content side of things, that was more of a specific niche that I chose. like, because this kind of goes back to like 2012, it would have been, right when I was getting out of high school and deciding what I wanted to do for possibly getting into the games business or the critic side. And I was like a big IGN reader and like Game Informer and things like that. IGN, the way they were structured back then is that they had teams, like a Nintendo team, a PlayStation team, an Xbox team. So I thought it was better to choose a niche. And since PlayStation was my favorite platform, I decided to strictly do PlayStation content. And then 12 years later, it stuck eventually.
Pretty cool.
That's man.
For me, it was weird because I kind of got out of video games at the time. Like I just got rid of all of my Super Nintendo stuff. Then my nephew introduced me to the PlayStation, and the first game I got to play on it was Resident Evil. And the combination of Hollywood with the actors and the video game like gameplay, I thought that was amazing. And it was a mature game, so I was like, wow, video games are going in a new direction. So I remember like when the PlayStation came out, like everybody thought it was cool. Like before that, you got caught like reading a game magazine at your school or something like that, and you'd be automatically like called a nerd or whatever like that. But now the PlayStation's out, you're the cool kid now. That system for me, I have the most memories with that system, like just having a good time. And that's the kind of like, that's just what got me back into video games. I feel like if the PS1 had not came out, I probably wouldn't be playing video games anymore. So it was definitely the system, my favorite system of all time. It was a system that got me back into games, and it's still my favorite system to this day. So
yeah, I guess my answer is actually really similar to that too.
Yeah.
So I was like getting a little older, and I played video games growing up, and I thought at the time that like I was going to outgrow the hobby, and that games just were designed for a younger audience, and I was getting to be a teenager, a little bit older, and I thought that after a while it would just be silly if I kept playing like these games like Mario or whatever. They weren't really like adult oriented content.
Right.
And then I played PlayStation 1, and I was like, I saw like they started like they felt like they were specifically targeting the older audience, and they were going for like a more mature thing. And like when I saw games like Twisted Metal and Legacy of Kain and Resident Evil, all of these like games that I'm like, these are clearly not for little kids. Like you're like blood sucking people across the room, the evil crazy shit. Like it was just wild. Like I was like, these games are something different to me. And like I don't know, like I was always like an edgelord growing up. I always was. I was always in like heavy metal and like extreme music and horror movies, and like I don't know, I just like always like adults like scary things. So like when the PlayStation was like, we're gonna give you games like that, I was like, oh hell yeah. I sort of like never looked back. Like I just always thought it was the best. So PC gaming did offer like Doom. I felt that way about Doom and Hexen and stuff like that too, you know what I mean? But like I don't know, I was poor. I never had a nice PC, so it was just I was never really passionate about it. I couldn't collect it or really get into it, like because I just didn't have the experience with PlayStation. I did. And so sort of like later on the line, like when I first started collecting, I don't know about you guys, but like I had no focus at all when I started. Like I was like, I'm gonna get some of these, I get some of those, and I was collecting like every system, everything under the sun, everything I could see. Like it was just like all over the place. And then like I had this like epiphany where I was like, I kind of need to just focus on something, because this is just too much, and my FOMO's too strong, and like I don't have a lot of space. And like I just like I had like I thought about it, and I'm just like, what I really love is PlayStation more than anything. That's like what I like the most. And so I'm just going to focus on that. And I do have a DS collection. I do have Switch games. I do have GameCube stuff. I have stuff still from all the other stuff, but primarily I just went for nothing but the PlayStation, and I don't regret it. I really like it a lot. And
so
also, sorry, good.
Did you get the PlayStation when it first came out, or did you wait a couple years until after it came out back in 95, I believe, in America?
I probably got it the second year it was out.
Okay.
Something like that.
Cool.
Yeah. Definitely before Final Fantasy VII came out.
Oh.
I had it before then, for sure.
All right.
But yeah, so I was always lucky. Like my dad was he wasn't like a hardcore gamer or whatever, but he liked games. And so like he always made sure that we had something new when it came out because he secretly wanted to play it as well. Just be real. I would do the same thing if I was a dad at this point. I'm like, hey kid, yeah, well, you know what you need? All this, you need a PS5 Pro. Sure you do. So yeah, I was lucky in that regard.
Right on.
So that was a fun little intro. So there's a lot of stuff going on in PlayStation. The first topic I kind of wanted to get into was actually, if you guys watched Mystic's video today, one of the topics he was discussing is, Sony has put a lot of time and money and effort into a lot of these live service games. And these were decisions made several years ago, because you know how the gaming industry works, where they decided what they were going to do. And, that investment's about to come to fruition. And I don't know if it's been the best idea. And I'm just curious what you guys think about it. Do you think that Sony should be investing in live service games? Should not be investing in live service games? Are they investing in the wrong live service games? What are you guys' thoughts on what they're doing these days?
I mean, investment wise, they kind of have to do it because that's what a lot of the kids are playing these days. Like they're the future of gaming. So a lot of them are playing these multiplayer games. That's what you mean by live service when you talk about games or the online games. Yeah.
Yeah, games with no single player mode offline.
They're like basically
player focused experiences.
Yeah,
lots of microtransactions, that sort of thing.
Ooh, gosh, microtrans. Okay, that's kind of what ruined Dead Space 3. But yeah, I feel like they should invest in it because if they don't, somebody else will, and we can see like how much love a lot of these gamers have for playing games online, like the craziness of Call of Duty and all that stuff just really took off. And, I was shocked back in the day when I found out that people weren't even playing the Call of Duty story mode. They just go straight to the online. Like the story modes are really badass in those games. I'm like, you guys are missing out, but they didn't care. Online was what it was about, So I think they're doing the right thing, investing in it. I would hope they wouldn't invest all their money into it because I love the single player experience. That's what kind of games I play, or something that's like, just initially like co-op against the computer or something like that, like something like Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. I love that game. So I like that type of experience. But as far as like multiplayer games, I only play like a couple of them, which is like Dead by Daylight and Chainsaw Massacre right now. But yeah, I just couldn't imagine the single player experience being gone because then I would probably wouldn't really be into it anymore, without that experience.
Yeah. That was the turning point, Reggie, that I noticed, like sort of anecdotally in person, is when because Call of Duty really blew up with Modern Warfare on PlayStation 3 and 360, right? And so by the time World at War came out, then MW2, MW3, Black Ops, it's like around that time is when I anecdotally saw a lot of people just around me not play the single player.
Yeah.
And that was like such a puzzling thing to me at the time. I'm like, what the how are you not playing the single player? It's so awesome and cool. No, they jump right to the multiplayer. That's always like a moment that's sort of ingrained in my head of like, that's sort of where it really started to change in a much different way. And obviously it's 10 years on now that the industry is much different because the key takeaway is that that future is now. Like PlayStation Network, their games and network services segment, 50% of that revenue right down the middle is live service games. So the other 50% is sort of full game downloads. And that's like the plethora of games on PSN. So full, things that either ship at retail or the smaller bite-sized games, but that's just individual a la carte games. And then the other 50% is like actually just a handful of titles, your Fortnite, your GTA Online, your, your Warzone, Destiny. It's insane that that's what the split is. We're talking about thousands of games only represent 50%, and then the other 50% goes to a handful of titles. So to your original question, whether you like live service games or not, if I was a Sony shareholder, I want them doing live service.
Yeah.
And to elaborate on that, I feel like this has been the writing on the wall for at least 10 years, like what Ryan said. We look at the biggest selling game of all time, Grand Theft Auto 5. it had DLC planned for single player, and it got cancelled for the online. Like they cancelled the biggest selling on game of all time's DLC because they're
Cancel
like,
every other project they had.
Yeah,
I think
there's more money in this online. Let's just put all our resources
I didn't know
into
that.
it. Just this week
Other
alone,
DLC.
it's 2024. It was the #1 selling game in Australia and New Zealand. It came out 11 years ago. And like, you've got to think, well, they're going to look at the model of what sells best. That's doing the best. It's online service. That was 11 years ago. All games today are like just online focus, server focus, Game Pass focus. So it's no surprise that, you know, live service is where these companies are all headed. And unfortunately, gamers like us are, you know, wanting to play single player are where the odd ones out these days.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, like a single player game, you know, to cover down, I guess they try to tack on some kind of online multiplayer to it, even though the game's not meant for that usually, just to kind of save themselves in a way, so the game could hopefully keep making them money. And it's crazy sometimes to think about that, but you know, like you guys are saying, I mean, this future for this multiplayer online is here, and it's stronger than ever, and it's only getting even stronger. So I just hope that doesn't take away from the single player experience, like someone like myself or some of you guys too. I don't want that to take
most
that.
of us.
Yeah, most of us, I would think.
I feel like the people who like to collect physical media are gonna be biased towards the single player experience, especially if you're a nut about like wanting all the content on the disc or wanting like everything on your physical game to be there. Online service games are like the complete opposite. If you get a disc, it's like a complete waste of time. It is literally just a key to play the game. Like, you know, whatever's on the Overwatch disc, that's not what was like, you know, on Overwatch or, you know,
right.
So there's definitely going to be a bias towards that single play experience in this community. But like you guys said, the future and maybe 50% of the actual game base, they are into that sort of thing. So they sort of have to invest in it. My only worry or concern is that I don't necessarily like the way they're approaching these games or these IPs, where they're sort of just being like, well, what we should do is we should copy this other game and make our own version of the game, and it'll be great. Like, we'll make Foam Stars, that's just Splatoon, or we'll make this, or we'll make Concord, which is just like Overwatch or whatever. And I'm just like, these are very uninspired, like unoriginal games. And I don't think you can just make a clone or copy of something popular and just be like, here you go, kids, you'll like this too. You liked A, so you'll like B. I think that it's more of I think they need to invest in live service games, but I think they need to like do it with their own IPs, and they need to be a little creative about it and maybe possibly come up with something. I know it's easy to say unique and different or whatever, because, you know, what are my ideas? I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, it really should stand out in a way, and it can't just be like a worse or not as appealing version of something else. That's just not going to cut it. And one thing they did that really irritates me, I think you even showed some footage in your video, is like they had a Twisted Metal live service game planned, and that is exactly the type of thing I'm talking about. I wish they had done, because, you know, I'm someone who's not really even into live service games, but if you slap Twisted Metal on it and you made it a good game, I'm buying it and I'm playing it and I'm spending money and I'm getting skins. I'm getting the cool Sweet Tooth skins. I'm buying all of it. I'm getting like whatever. I'll get upgraded ammo packs. I don't give a shit. Whatever they could have done, I would have done that and experienced that, because I like that franchise. And I'm just shocked that they don't lean into that more. Like, I don't see why they don't take their own IPs that they're popular. Like you know, remember that, like not even stuff for like Sony first party games, just games they're even familiar. Like why don't they remake MAG or something, like the 100-person online experience or something like that? You know what I mean? Like,
bring SOCOM back there and the license to it, and it's still got a following. You know, there's so many things they could do. They could bring Resistance back as like a competitor to Call of Duty. You know, because they don't own Call of Duty anymore, so you need a competitor, or Killzone, or these series you already own.
I'd be very upset if Resistance came back as live service.
So
this is the crux of the issue, right? Is that if you take established, well-known IP that people love as a single player game or boxed multiplayer, like arena shooters from like the PS3 360 generation that we're all partial to, I assume, and you convert it to live service, well, we're not going to like that. And I think a lot of other people probably aren't going to like that. This is why it's so difficult for Sony and pretty much every major publisher to navigate. And that's why a lot of them are exploring new IP. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know about all of you, but I still value new IP a lot. This industry is incredibly risk averse. Like they,
right now, especially
we have so many ports, remasters, remakes, so it's a double-edged sword, right? Doing new IP is very risky. It's hard to establish. It's, these games take 5, 6, 7 years to put out. In the context of live service, they also take an incredible amount of studio resources to maintain as well. And that's why it's so different from arena shooters or box multiplayer from, 2 cycles ago. Every facet of this conversation is so complex, I think, for everybody involved, all the stakeholders. Like the Twisted Metal project, it's like, the game was canceled. We have to assume it was canceled because it was just not, they just couldn't nail it down. Like whatever sort of milestone build they were at, whatever sort of gameplay loop they were trying to figure out. Maybe they had a gameplay loop that worked, but then the problem was, how do we monetize it long term? It's, we don't know a whole lot about that game, but between that, London Studios, fantasy IP, The Last of Us Online is the big one here, because that was a game that Sony were working on for about 4-something years, and then the Bungie acquisition happened. They provided feedback. The story that we hear there is that it sounds like they had concerns that they proposed to Naughty Dog, which is, the game may be good, but if you can't monetize it or sustain it for, a long period of time, that's going to be an issue. It's just, it's so different nowadays, and it's so costly. It's every aspect of it is, I think, really hard to navigate.
And another thing too, that obviously I don't know if I mean, some people think about it, but games in the 90s were like exactly the same cost wise a lot of the times as games now. Like they haven't really adjusted. Like I bought Genesis games for $70 back in the 90s and Super Nintendo games for $70. And nowadays people are like $70 for a game. And it really doesn't make sense, because if you go back to the cost of anything in the 90s and look at it now, it's doubled or tripled or whatever. So single player games shouldn't be $50-$60. They should be like $100 to $120 realistically. But the problem is that the market is so oversaturated, and there's so much competition, and there's so many indie developers and all these people that are, selling their games for cheaper, that it's like they're in a real tough spot. So they have to figure out ways to monetize the games beyond the initial purchase. So I think, like you guys said, you'd be very upset if these single player experiences came back as games as a service or only. I feel like what they really need to do is they need to make good single player experiences, maybe charge a little bit more, and then include an online service to further monetize the game. So like it should have a good single player experience for old fogies like us who maybe not want to experience that, but there should still be like a very robust multiplayer loop with maybe a battle pass and all that other stuff if you want to go down that road. But like you said, it's like catching lightning in a bottle, because these live service games, they either everybody's into them and they're the coolest new thing and they're making tons of money and they're real popular, or they just completely bomb. They never get off the ground, and they just tank. There's so many of them that have just tanked. It's just like, man, it's a scary industry to be in right now, for sure.
Yeah.
The one big concern with that, Joe, is games cost so much to make these days, especially AAA games. They cost billions and billions of dollars. Like GTA 6 is meant to be the most expensive piece of media of all time.
It was $2 billion, right? And they say it costs to make.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll make that in its first week. So
it's going to make so much more. I mean, look.
This is a whole nother topic I was going to go into. Specifically with the PS5 Pro. I feel like the PS5 Pro that's going to come out. It's coming out.
I hope so.
Like
it's definitely going to be a thing, and everybody's going to say, "I don't need that. I don't want that. Why would I want a Pro?" Blah blah blah. But I feel like if GTA 6 releases and it's optimized for the Pro, you're going to see a lot of people buying that. I think that's going to move a lot of consoles. You're going to see like Sony selling out of consoles again. That's what I think.
Yep. That's the one game that is kind of definitely an outlier. I think that will go against the grain of what we typically see. But that singular game is going to be the largest entertainment launch in likely history. Like genuine. I'm not even trying to undermine this. That's going to be the biggest entertainment launch in history. So
yeah, it'll cause like a global delay in people stopping going into work and different things like that for a few days, and we'll notice it as the world. It'll be quite interesting.
It's going to be fucking huge. And people that don't even know about Grand Theft Auto are going to hear about this game because it's going to generate headlines in every major old legacy media site. It's going to be. I can't even stress how crazy that is. It's gonna when that game comes out. It's gonna be nuts.
For Johnny for $10. Thank you, Johnny. You guys need to
Johnny?
stop playing video games and go out and get some air. We were just planning on actually no lifing GTA 6 for the next 3 months. We're actually like planning on the opposite.
Yeah, crack a window.
There you go.
Got the shirt too rocking.
So I want to kind of bring this up too with so I didn't know that they get canceled like story-based DLC for GTA 5 because the online was doing so well. I guess they didn't see any way to make money off of that regular DLC because everybody was going online, which is crazy. But I guess with the success of that game, I feel like it's kind of ruined Rockstar just a little bit. And I'll kind of explain why. They found a reason not to make some of their older titles anymore. Like I don't know if you guys know that. You guys heard that game, The Bully?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Bully is supposed to get a sequel, but now with the money they're making off these other games, it's just I guess they don't think it's lucrative anymore. So
it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It's like victim of their own success. They're just making so much money doing this one thing that it doesn't make sense to do anything else. It's like when people are like, I've tried to explain, it's like, how come people spend so much money on this X thing? I'm like, you got to understand for some people, if you make a lot of money, if you're making hundreds of dollars an hour doing whatever you're doing, and you take an hour out of your day to do something, you might have lost hundreds of dollars. So it's better just to pay someone to do it while you continue to do something else. It's like that sort of simulation. Like it's just like if they stop doing that, they're just going to make less money no matter what. So like, let's say they came out with the Midnight Club 4 and it was very successful. The time they took and the investment they put into that, and they could have put into GTA 5 Online, and they would have made 10 times as much money. So it's like
it'd be like 100 times as much. Like that's how crazy this game is.
It's just hurtful, man, because I feel like they have a lot of good IPs that they could still be working on. Maybe they could like start another company that's kind of like
just sell them all, man.
Well, I don't know, man. I just feel like I don't like companies like that to lose their creativity. Like obviously GTA 6 is very creative, right? But that's a game somebody could probably play for years only and just be entertained. But I feel like they had a lot of other good IPs like Bully, which I'm still hurting that they didn't get a sequel. What's that other game we were just talking about? Midnight Club. Los Angeles was on point, dude. They really got it down. Like that whole game was
Midnight
great.
Club 3, the dub edition.
That was another good one, yeah.
A good game, dude. Such a good game. Graphics look insane for a PS2 game too. Like that's one of the ones that I want to show off my little emulator with the upscale graphics. I'll throw something like that on, or Burnout or something. The racing games look sick, dude. Yeah.
Well, Joe, you really nailed it on the head with the whole victim of your own success. Like it's not a Rockstar decision anymore. It's a Take-Two Interactive shareholders decision, and the shareholders want to make money. That's their own. They don't care what we want. They don't care what's best for the industry. They want to make money, and they vote what makes money, and that's exactly what we're going to get. So unfortunately, because it's so successful and they are so rich, and they now have all these rich investors behind them who have one goal, and then guess what? They're only going to focus on that one thing.
Yeah.
My biggest concern with that game is I'm just curious how they're going to approach the offensiveness of the series, because
I'm concerned about that too.
GTA 3 and the original games on PS2, like the whole point of those games were like you would play them and just be like, I cannot believe I am doing this in a game, or I'm like, they made a game that allows you to be like this or do this or act like this. Or it was just so wild and like off to be, I don't know, just, it was just so crazy that like, I'm curious to see whether they'll like double down or triple down and make the craziest thing we've ever seen in our lives, or if it's going to be like kind of tepid or watered down and not as crazy, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm hoping that they go nuts. I think that's what they should do. I think they should make the game like purposefully triggering, if you want to use that word, be on purpose, because that alone, the reaction of people who don't like it and are offended by it are going to sell hundreds of millions and millions of copies because people are tired of that, man. People are tired of like these puritanical people telling everybody they can't have any fun. So if this game comes out and they're like, screw you, we're just going to do whatever the hell we want, that's going to make big money. Whereas opposed to if you look at like Saints Row, they kind of watered it down a little bit and they tuned it down and they tried to make it like more like modern, and nobody bought it. Nobody wanted anything to do with it. So I'm just curious how that's going to be. You think they'll be courageous, or you think they'll be like scared to do crazy stuff? What do you guys think?
No, they got too much money to be scared of anything. I mean, Rockstar will definitely, hopefully, I mean, they'll push the envelope like they always do. And it'll always be in a good way. You know what I mean? Because people like how creative they are. So I don't think they're going to hold back with GTA 6, especially with the development cycle over the last like 10 years for it. They're going to go all out. And I just think that when people play that game, I feel like they're going to go straight to the online.
Well, like, it's funny you say that, Reggie. They've announced that like the way that the game will be announced is the game will come out for a month before online comes out. So everyone will be forced to play.
Oh, that's good. Okay. I like that. Yeah. All right. I like that. They did it with GTA 5 too. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I'm wondering, well, there's two main characters in the game, right? From what we've seen with the story.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I kind of like that idea though. That way because you know, you don't want to be punished if you decide to play through the campaign and like, you know, you finally dip into the online and like people are already a month ahead of you and
exactly.
That would be wicked frustrating. So yeah,
and it gives them time to then fix up the bugs that they find in the game before it gets to the online.
What
and
bugs?
Like
that. It'll be perfect.
I just feel like the game, it's at the point where it doesn't have to be the best game of all time to make billions of dollars. They just have to literally copy what they made 11 years ago, update it a little bit, put a new setting on it, you know, hire all these famous actors and actresses to put in their voiceovers, and boom, it's going to be the most successful product of all time.
Do they have a release date for it?
Fall 2025.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Almost a year away.
Yeah, that's fine. I got some other games to play, but I'm just thinking about like because how amazed I was playing GTA 5, how you could switch to the other characters via the like the cell phone or whatever. I think it was a cell phone or something like that. And it was cool. It was like cool how the other character was like doing something different every time you switch to them. Like I love how creative they were with that. I'm just wondering like how they're going to do that with Part 6 because. Like I said, there's only two main characters, and I guess you can switch between them. Is that the whole gimmick, or they haven't released any information about it yet?
No, we don't. We don't necessarily know exactly how they're going to approach it. Okay. We only have a single trailer and a lot of speculation, but nothing concrete. I would assume it's like GTA 5.
Okay. Well, obviously, it's probably going to be a $70 game. We got to get used to that.
I might be more. I wouldn't be surprised. I think they could charge do whatever they want. To be honest,
whatever they want.
If they charged $99.99, they'd sell
no problem.
Millions of copies day one.
Same amount of copies.
They literally can kind of set the tone for whatever they want. I mean, you're talking about like the most successful game of like all time, pretty much. So, yeah, I think they can pretty much do whatever, and people are just gonna accept it.
In saying that, if they charge $70, no other game is going to be able to charge more than $70. So they're really, really setting the line for video games, apart from maybe like a new Zelda or something.
Do you guys think that it will coincide like with the PS5 Pro release? Do you think that'll come out like right around the same time? I'm thinking they will if they're smart. But
I mean,
maybe it'll come out sooner.
PlayStation 5 Pro is currently, as far as we know, scheduled for November this year.
Yes.
and it will
the
be
announcement or the actual release.
The announcement should be honestly very soon because we're in August right now. If it in any way, shape, or form follows the same formula that they do with PS4 Pro, it would be announced next month. Typically, they want to announce these things as close to launching it as they possibly can, and they'll probably have to talk about this thing fairly soon because this thing will be coming off of assembly lines. Excuse me. So they'll want to get ahead of possible leaks because this happens like with slim consoles every single time. Because typically with slim consoles, they'll be manufacturing them and then ship them and sell them pretty much a week later. So that's why oftentimes we get a leak of like a fake shell or something, but it's like, no, that really is a PS3 Slim or a PS4 Slim. So with the Pro, they're going to want to get as close as they can to announcement and launch. So that's why it's expected in September, launch by the end of this year. We expect November, but that's just going off the PS4 Pro formula. But it, in theory, should be shipping this year. That's what we know so far.
Do you guys think we could expect like no choices between performance, like you could have 4K and a 60 frames per second type performance with the system?
It's going to be highly contingent on the game. Pretty much all third parties already have dev kits and they have access to like the actual build, and so they can utilize things like PSSR, which is PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. We know what kind of enhancements they can do in order to get a PS5 Pro enhancement label on the box art or for the PSN store listing. And usually it's some kind of variation of, if the base game is 4K 30, if you bump it up to 4K 60, then that's a PS4 Pro setting or PS5 Pro setting. If you can add ray tracing to a mode that didn't have it before, then you get the enhancement label. So it's pretty much this sort of open-ended guideline of if you can make any sort of meaningful improvement from the base game, then that's how you can say get a label. But it's contingent on the title, obviously. Something that's like really CPU bound, like an open world game. Probably like the most ideal circumstance would be if the base game's 4K 60, you'd have a higher base resolution. So it's going to sustain like, if it's running at like 1400p internally, maybe it's going to bump up to 1800p, and that'll be a PS5 Pro enhancement label. Games that run at 60 and like a game that let's say holds a lock 60, it might get a high frame rate mode. So it's like an unlocked, 120 mode, or maybe they can enable ray tracing. It's like anything goes essentially. It's going to be on a game by game basis.
Okay.
What do you guys think the price point's going to be? I think it's going to be pretty expensive.
$599.
$599.
Yeah, $599 for sure.
That's what the PS3 came out.
I feel like they'll drop the price of the original one if it's the case, though. Maybe like a $50 reduction or something.
The problem with that is these console cycles, they can't get down bill of materials. They just can't. Like, that's why it's been 4 years and PlayStation 5 is the same MSRP.
It went up in some places. They did a price increase in a couple countries.
Everybody had to. All three manufacturers. Like, I think Sony did it first, so they took most of the heat. Then Nintendo and then Microsoft, if I remember correctly. But this is what's so like unusual about this console cycle is like 2017 Switch, $300. It did not drop price. In fact, we got a new model, an OLED model that increased the MSRP. So like, this is something that's like, we'll never get this again, which is like, you're like 8 years into the PlayStation 2 and they can sell one at Walmart for $150. Like, it's just never going to happen ever again. This console is probably going to stay the same price for the entire life cycle, which is kind of nutty. So when you introduce a Pro, it's like, well, that kind of makes it a bit awkward. It's going to be a low volume machine anyway. Like, they're not going to, like, when PS5 Pro comes out, this is not going to be like the number one PlayStation people buy. It's probably going to be some weird ratio, like 1 in 5 PS5s as a Pro. So they can afford to price it pretty high because it's meant for like enthusiasts anyway, or people that want to get the most out of the platform. So I would expect $599. I think the best case scenario, like Figsy said, is maybe 50. We've seen that that's kind of the wiggle room they do have. When they run a sale, it's a $50 cut. That's like that's the best they do. So best case scenario, I'd love to see the base consoles drop 50 permanently, and then this thing comes in at 550. But if I was a betting man, I think this thing's going to be.
I think you guys are being generous. I think best case scenario is $599. That's the cheapest I think it would be.
they can't go above that. They still have to be mindful of like the current economy, which is people don't want to spend money.
So.
Interest rates are way too high. People are not spending like they used to. You can't go that high. I would assume 600's the ceiling.
Looking at that in terms of Australia prices, you're looking at like $1,200 for a console, which is just absurd, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like when they announce it, man, they got to have something that really will make people want to like buy that system, like some kind of game that will utilize the Pro's capabilities. You know, when they announce it, you know what I mean? Like this game's gonna have this upgrade or this game's coming out. I think that would help out a lot. But if they're just bringing out the system itself, and I don't know how people will accept it. I mean, obviously the enthusiasts will buy it, but to the other people that, you know, are thinking about it, they might not want to pick one up right away.
Well, that'll happen. Again, if it's anything like the Pro, they're going to hold some kind of like hour-long meeting. So it's going to be a live stream. And that live stream is probably going to be Mark Cerny on stage talking about the console, its spec sheet, explain PSSR to people. And, you know, a portion of that live stream is probably going to be, here's all these existing titles that you know, and here's what they do on PS5 Pro. And first party is going to be the highlight here. That's how this always goes down. So I would safely expect like you're probably going to see Spider-Man 2, Ragnarok up there, or maybe Horizon again. And it's like, here's how these games run on the Pro. Here's the enhancements you can expect. Here's some third parties. There's a number of third parties that we expect are going to have a PS5 Pro enhancement. Like the one that we caught wind of based off the data mine is No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky already has with its most recent patch a PS5 Pro enhancement baked into the game already, which that one was very minimal. They only like bumped up the base resolution and then also like just a few other settings were turned from high to ultra. But I mean, I think the bigger question is how many games are going to have a patch ready by by the time it ships.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, Kari said, you know, the price point maybe not the mainstream, it's the games. What games are going to make people want to upgrade? And that's a very valid point. Like, even if it's the best deal in the world and it's a great system, if all it's going to do is add a little ray tracing and a few frames to the existing IP games that we have, you know, they do need to have some stuff that like pushes the system. That they need a game that's like you need the Pro to play it, otherwise it's like going to be crappy on the regular one. Like,
something that stands out a bit.
Correct.
Right?
And so for me, back in the PS4 days, that was the PSVR in general. Like it just didn't run that great on the PS4, but it was much better on the PS4 Pro as far as like what it could do. Like games just ran better on it. So for me, that was like an actual valid reason for me to upgrade my system, because I was like, I want the more powerful system for this piece of hardware. And I don't know, that was like a reason to upgrade it. Back then, especially too, like if you didn't have a 4K TV and you know, there was like no reason to get the Pro, like there was no reason to upgrade to it. If the games you were playing fine on your regular PS4 and you were just playing in 1080p anyway, there was like no reason. So you, like they said, there has to be a selling point to get people to want that upgraded system. They have to come out with stuff that make you want to buy it.
Right. In the community I was in at the time, I was playing PUBG, and when the PS4 Pro came out, people that were playing it had a better experience playing the game. So everyone in the community is like, you got to upgrade because the game's better, it loads better, it runs better. And I bought it and it was like a completely new system. It was amazing. But like, you need that to happen. You know, you need your friends out there saying like, no, you have to get the upgrade because the game that we play online runs better. And, you know, most games run great these days. How many games do you hear of like struggle to run on the PS5? Barely any. It's, you know, this game runs great on the PS5 but struggles on the Switch.
Yeah, that's the Switch. That's the conversation for the Switch for the last 4 years.
I can't believe they make a Switch version of some of these games. I mean, just to obviously make that Switch money, but the downgrading for these games is insane on the Switch. It's like, wow. Dude,
I don't think they want to either, but they're like, dude,
it's harder to do.
Switch money. We got to get that Switch money, bro.
Yeah.
It's a huge install base. Like, can you imagine not putting your game on the Switch? It's like, you know, the Switch has almost outsold the goddamn PS2, boys. We got to stop this. We got to do something about it. We got to go to Japan and
you got to do something, Joe. Look behind you. You're not helping.
Throw some forks in the machines. Stop making Switches. Cut it out.
Quick question. So Mark Cerny, he's the guy that designed the PS4, right?
He was the system architect. Yep.
Okay, and they continue to work on. Well, okay, so he designed the PS5 too. right?
Yeah, he was the lead architect on PS4, Vita, and PS5, and we safely expect PS5 Pro, and PlayStation 6.
Right
Since
on.
we're far enough along to where that's
Yeah, that's
definitely
already in development.
in the works. Yeah.
Yeah, we needed him, man, because I forgot Ken. I can't forgot his last name. The guy designed the PS1, PS2, and PS3. I heard from a lot of the. Yeah. I heard from a lot of developers that those systems were hard to work on. Well, especially the PS3. So when they saw how they struggled with the PS3 in the beginning, they were like, "Man, we got to get someone else to design these systems because the developers are struggling too much to get these games running properly or learning how to get games on the system going." So yeah.
One of my favorite.
I just want to jump back to the price point, real quick. So, I do think that is extremely important, that they do find the right price for it, because like if you look, like perfect example is the PSVR 2. Like I feel like everyone agrees that was too expensive on release. It was $550 with the bundle, or $500 without the game, and like it just wasn't selling at that price point at all, guys. But like they dropped the price to $350 and it sold out everywhere. Like really? PSVR 2, it was the hottest selling game system on Amazon UK for like a week or two. Like it sold out everywhere. Like when they dropped it down to $350, it was going crazy. And not only that, but I saw that they released the little PC adapters so you could use your PSVR 2 on the PC. Mm-hmm. That thing sold out everywhere too. Like, I don't know, maybe it's come back in stock, but it was completely sold out. You couldn't get one. Like, it was on the direct store, Amazon, like it was gone. And so like if it, lowering the price a little bit and having that good entry price, it really does make a difference when it comes to moving sales. And sometimes it can be $50 difference, like psychologically, just like over 400, under 400. I don't know what that perfect spot is for people, but it definitely can move units or not move units by them pricing it correctly. So right. And then if you remember the debacle with PlayStation 3 when it first came out, it's just too damn expensive for your average consumer, which is why they gave up so much market share to the Xbox 360, because you got all these people saying, all right, I want to get into this new generation of gaming. $600, $300, or whatever it was for an Xbox is so much cheaper. It was just like a no-brainer for most people to hop in to the
or the Wii, which outsold all of them because it was even cheaper still.
Mm-hmm. I'm still amazed that the Wii sells so well, because nobody I know plays the fucking Wii anymore. Like nobody's still, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I bet everyone owned a Wii.
Everybody
right?
bought
everyone
one.
I knew, even casual, like non-gamers, they all own Wiis.
That's what happened. They got the game, the people that didn't play games with the Wii. Like I remember my grandparents playing the Wii bowling, and that's the only game they played on the system, and they love it. They still play it to this day, and it's pretty hilarious. But the Wii was like just wasn't a system for me that I really wanted to buy, but I kind of like fell into the hype of it, and I started to like it. So.
I love it today. I generally love it because you can find Wiis for like $10 and sell them in a day for $80 because this. You put a Wii with a Mario Kart and a steering wheel controller, and people are, that's what I had 10 years ago. That's what I want to play today. Perfect, and they're everywhere.
I miss hearing the store theme.
This guy knows what's up.
For the Wii.
Excite Truck is so good. That's like one of the only, dude. That's like one of the only games that I own on the Wii. That Excite Truck, it's so good.
That was the game I bought at launch. I did not get Twilight Princess. I bought Excite Truck.
Dude, so that's what's up, dude. It's such a good game, dude. I feel like that game is like, it's gonna be like go up in value over time as more people realize it really is so fun, dude. So at first, if you ever played it, it's a racing game. And you use the Wii controller to use it. And then like when you're in the air, you could twist the controller and do like spins and tricks and stuff like that. And then like when you get down on the ground, it's like the most satisfying thing in the world. You take the controller and you slam it you go like this and you go spam, and the car smashes back onto the track. And dude, it's just the most satisfying feeling that when you're like doing all these flips in the air and you're just going crazy, and then you come down and slam back on and just freaking boost across everything. Dude, it's such a fun game. Like, especially too, like you get bonuses where you can like go through the woods and crash through trees. And so, like, if you memorize the map of like where all the power ups, so you can do wild shit and like just go through the woods and fly off the sides of mountains and like skip half the track, just fly. Like, you'll spend like the whole track in the air doing tricks and stuff. Like, oh man, I love that game. If you can't tell, I'm a fan. It's so good. It's supposed to be a PlayStation episode. Why are we talking about the Wii?
Yeah, it slipped in there.
Oops.
It happens. All right, so speaking of PlayStation and hardware and equipment, it's just a speculative topic, but I'm just curious what you guys all think. Do you think that Sony's going to come out with another handheld, like an actual handheld, not the Portal, in this upcoming either this generation or the next generation? You think they're going to get back into it?
Mine says no. Because I thought they would have done it years ago, and they haven't. So,
well, I mean, the Switch kind of took the momentum that the Vita would have had, I thought. So that's probably why they stayed away from it back then. I think now would be a good time for them to do it. But they have to really kind of let go of like having like certain things locked. Like, what killed the Vita was the memory. Well, that wasn't the only thing that killed the Vita, but locking those memory cards down like that, and they were so expensive, and a lot of developers didn't want to put certain games on there because of that. So if Sony is able to kind of like, I don't want to say like let loose, but you just like make it not so crazy on the system, make something affordable that's good to take on the go. Like, I would hope it would be as powerful probably as what a powerful like portable system, I think for Sony, which should be on the level of at least a PS4, right?
It would have to be a portable PlayStation 4. This is my answer.
It have to. Okay.
This is my be-all, end-all answer. They will never, ever, ever make another handheld again unless it feeds into an existing ecosystem and it's something developers don't have to ship games to. It's a completely different environment. You can't make a separate platform that developers have to completely make there's a whole new SDK, whole new dev environment, then a porting cost. It'll never happen. That means for Sony, it would have to be hardware they have right now, which is PS4 and PS5. Now, as far as how far along we are with like die size and the fabrication process and getting a PlayStation 4, chassis into a portable form factor, a la Steam Deck or ROG Ally or something, like all these portable PCs. I'm sure there's a path there, and I know their R&D department has certainly toyed around with these things. We have no idea if they're going to ship it, but that's the only way it would ever happen. It would have to be a portable PS4. That way you log into it and your library is there. Developers make games for it without even having to like target it. So
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree that with that point that like it's not going to come out, because if they wanted to, they already would have one. Look at the PlayStation Portable. Like, that would be, if they were going to go down the road, the Portable would be the system. But clearly they didn't want to split into two teams, and they're like, let's just make something that goes along with the PS5 that's part of it, that our customers can already buy, because they don't have to do anything different to develop for that system. It's just part of the PS5.
This is why the Switch became so successful. This is why the Steam Deck is a really cool device, because you log into Steam and your library is there. It just works. The games just work. The Switch, is basically speaking to two marketplaces: those that prefer playing on a TV and those that like handhelds. And when developers ship a game on the Switch, it plays in both forms.
Okay.
So yeah, I think you're spot on. I think that, so I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility that they release something, but I don't think it's ever going to be like a Vita or a PSP, like you say, with its own hardware, memory, and games and all that stuff. It's just not going to happen. Like you said, I think one of the reasons that like developers don't want to make 6 different versions of the same game, like you said. Like, I think that's what killed the Wii U too. Like, it's like the most developers, they're like, I don't want to have to make a game and then remake my game for that stupid tablet of yours. All right, pal? Like, I just don't want to have to deal with that. And like, there's no incentive to. And then the install base was so low that it just further de-incentivized people to make games for it. So it's just,
not to mention with the Wii U that if you made a game that was only for the Wii U, it didn't work on any other system because it used the touchpad. You'd
specific
have to that one system.
Yeah, you'd have to redo it exactly. And like Mystic said, it's just not in today's ecosystem. It's just not the way to do it. They want the exact opposite. They want to make the easiest version and have to do as little possible work to it to get it to run on PC, to get it run on Xbox, and get it run on. So they don't want to have to do that. So I think that's definitely going to be the future. And I would like to think. So what they need to do is, in my opinion, is they need to like completely reevaluate their online subscription service with the way their games work and how that works, where you pay for the games and you can download them to your hardware. And you don't really own them. I think they need to go back to a model where you can actually purchase. I mean, you can do that with some games. You can buy them outright, but I think that they need to make it so you can have your digital library, buy the games outright, download them to the device, and take them with and play them offline. I want them to be kind of like a mix between what they did with the Portal and the PSP or the PS Vita, where you can stream your games from your system if you want to. So if you have 140 gig game, you don't have to install it on your handheld, because let's just be real, like, you know what I mean? Like, the memory is not going to be, as copious on that thing. And then they have the option to still like buy PS1 games and PS2 games and PS3 games and actually be able to download them natively to your handset from your thing and play them offline. I think that would be a pretty good system. I think that would sell.
Right on. Quick question. Somebody in the audience.
Yeah, we got a.
Yeah, this is a
good
good
$5.
Good question. When do you guys think the PlayStation 3 store is going to close?
I just looked at it recently, highlighting how it's damn near broken in North America.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I expect it's got another 1 to 2 years, I would say.
Oh, that's great.
But there's still the caveat is always like they'll close purchasing, but you can still re-download for an indefinite amount of time, because they all still offer that. I don't think anybody's cut that off just yet. I think the DS you can still re-download things, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but that one should still offer re-download. So there's still like a cutoff that's even further down the line as far as like being able to log in and at least pull a license for something. But it would appear as though I mean, this is a total shot in the dark. They want to close it in 2021. So we got 3 more years out of it. But
which they didn't maintain it. They're like, fine, we're just gonna.
It wasn't.
We're gonna leave it on, but we're not touching it. So that's why.
Well, the problem is the redesign is the problem.
Yeah,
that was in 2013 when they made it look like the PlayStation 4 store. It runs like ass, but that's not even the problem. The core issue is like when you boot it up, like games are just missing on the North American store. Missing in that you can't like just casually browse the store. You can't like just go to genres and thumb down. Like for some reason, like everything's like filters are broken. So you normally have to like specifically punch in what you're looking for. Yep. I don't know why the store has done this over the last 3 years or so, but like all the filters are broken. Like if you filter it by PS1 classics, it shows like 20 games. There's 220 on there. Now, if you search for the one you want, it'll come up. You can buy it, but for some godforsaken reason, just like it's completely broken. Cache data comes in from opposite stores if you log into a different one. It's so messed up.
It sounds like they've removed games from the store, but they haven't removed it from the code. So the code's putting in these things that don't exist, and it just doesn't work anymore. And that way, that it's just broken. And because it's a PS3 store, they don't care.
Well, the other odd thing too is like metadata is broken. Like, so some games, right, if they exist on all 3, PS3, 4, 5, the games like the game's metadata will get updated for like, let's say a recent PlayStation 5 version or PS4 or whatever the case is. So like the one example I ran into was Journey. It came out on PlayStation 3. It's on PSN, but now the store listing on the PS3 store says you may encounter behaviors on PlayStation 5 when playing this game through backwards compatibility. It may behave different from the PS4 version. And it's like that store data assumes that you're looking at it on a PlayStation 5, but you're 2 consoles back looking at it on PS3. So it's like,
that's funny.
Yeah, they straight up don't touch the store at all.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. What do you guys think about like as far as like PS3 online play? How long will that last?
Well, that's a tougher question, man.
Yeah.
I think it's a game per game basis.
This is a topic I'm very intimate with because I check in on it every single year with my PS3 Online series.
I love that series.
That's the first video I saw from you was that series.
Oh, we've lost a lot, Reggie. It's every year we lose more and more. It's funny. Like the first time I did it was 2019, right? And the 2019 video, everything was like official servers. And then every year after, like more publishers were killing games. And now it's gotten to a point where the 2024 version, half the video was private servers from people that like reverse engineered individual games and brought them back online.
Mhm.
So half the video now is that, and the other half is like the stuff that's still not off, which is like the big stuff, Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, basically, or peer-to-peer games. There's a lot of peer-to-peer games that are still working, and those can
Like Dead
go
Space
offline.
3.
Yeah, they can go offline if something breaks in the back end. Like they can still die, but for the most part, like all the peer-to-peer games are up. So I think the bigger question is how long will Sony support like PlayStation Network just in general on PlayStation 3? Like how long can you log in and like sync trophies and like that? Like I would expect that to be like very far away, but I don't know. I'm not hopeful.
Yeah.
I got a question, Ryan. You might be able to answer this. So like games like Demon's Souls, for example, where they do have custom servers, are Sony able to pull the plug on that? Do you think like we will see those Outlast servers in the future?
With that, the biggest threat is like a cease and desist, you know, not necessarily like they can't do anything on the back end as far as I'm aware. Maybe they could send a cease and desist. I would probably reach out and ask somebody that knows this better than me. But the way I understand it is when these groups reverse engineer these games, you know, at that point it's all their code. You know, they're the ones that are manipulating the actual back end of what the game's expecting when it comes to like network interactions. So it's like the base, like if you have the game on disk, like that's not changing, right? Like the content's on the disk, you insert it, it plays off the disk. But what they're doing is changing the sort of network communication side. If you like log into because the way this works is you always have to change your DNS settings on your PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
So when you change the DNS, now you're accessing their server, their private server. So as far as I know, I don't think they could just like from their point of view turn that off. I would assume it would be just like a legal cease and desist, which so far they've left these groups alone. Like all these games are up, and so that's the good thing.
But that gives me hope because we know what the gaming community is like, and if they take servers down, I can see the community making servers for all these games that get taken down. So I can see a future where people are playing Call of Duty Black Ops 1 in 2030 online on the PS3 because fans out there have made it possible and things like that.
I think they have a server for Metal Gear Solid 4, right?
Yes,
online?
that's the one. That one's super old, actually. I only just got to that in the 2024 video, but like that was one of the first console games that like ever got, well, MGO, the first Metal Gear Online, that one came back first. Then Metal Gear Online 2 with MGS4, that one came back like a few years after that one. But I do want to clarify, I don't, if PSN login dies, which Sony is in control of, that I have no idea. I would assume that is going to be a very big problem. That probably would kill all the games. But I would have to ask somebody that knows more on the network side of things.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think that ideally that's what they want. I've said this before. That's one of the problems that the gaming industry has is that like they're in competition with their own products and their own history. Like you have so many people these days who are into like the retro scene and like they rather play older games that like it's got to kill them. Like it's got to kill these companies to sell new games and no one's buying their games and then go online and see people buying Little Ralph for $1,000 and shit. You know what I mean? Like it's gotta kill them to be like, what the fuck? These people will spend $200 on Silent Hill, but they won't buy the new one. Like they won't buy $60 for the new Silent Hill.
Look at Square
they're
Enix.
waiting for it to go on sale for $20. Like, you know what I mean?
Square Enix reprinted the game that was selling for $1,000. They must have been like, we were talking about they had shit sales. They must have literally looked on eBay and went, all right, let's reprint this thing because every time this sells for $1,000, we just lost a sale.
That's what that's why my hopes for getting a port of Chrono Trigger have never been higher. As soon as the worse they do financially, the more likely they're like, hey, I know y'all love Chrono Trigger. Let's go. We got plushies. We got a remaster. We got deluxe edition, super deluxe. We got statues, whatever you guys want.
Skateboards.
Oh, that's LRG. like limited run games in when PlayStation 7's out and they're no longer making disc drive consoles. That they're just going to sell skateboards and hats and shirts and coasters and mouses and
I'll
stuff
sell
like that.
PS7 Shantae cases, Joe. Come on.
And that's it. Yeah. That's a whole other topic. Like, how long do you think they'll even continue to make consoles with a disc drive? I think we'll be lucky if PS6 has a disc drive.
I think I thought PS5 would be the last one, but I'm pretty sure.
I think it might be.
PS6. You think so? Because when they introduced the PS5, as soon as I saw that commercial when they showed the digital system next to the physical, I was like, I knew. I was like, oh man, this is happening. So you might be right. I mean, this might be the last one that has a disc drive in it, because the disc drive just pretty much just installs a game. That's the only time it spins, right? It doesn't even spin during gameplay anymore. So
Well, I would clarify that the way we play games now, that's still like a slight misnomer. The content should still be on the disc.
Yeah.
What's different is it copies off the disc. And then from that point it acts as a license. But we can't ignore the process of you just copied the whole game from the disc. So publishers can still print the game on there and you can play them offline. You can install them and play them offline. If the publisher puts the damn content on the disc. That's the problem. I'll beat that drum all day, every day. You can still do it. You can do it in 2024. It's alive. But God damn it, some publishers will print like a stub of the game on the disc. Then you need to connect online to
I hate that so much, man. Yeah. Like that's so annoying.
But most games are installable offline. PlayStation 5, it's like 90%. It's still completely offline.
I can understand it for Call of Duty, for example, doing it like that because it's a 200 gigabyte game. But the average game, especially indie titles, are less than like a gigabyte. There's no excuse not to have it on the disc.
Yeah.
Hey, Rebirth was like 120 gigs, and they gave you an install disc and a play disc.
Yep.
And that's the way to do
it.
That's the way to do it.
Dude, I'm wondering how that game's going to look on the Pro. Like, well, man, I still got to go back and play that game again. Like, I played it once, beat it. Wasn't enough, but I just didn't. I ran out of time.
I put like 140 hours into that game.
Did you?
Dude, I was trying to do everything. I was trying to get like perfect scores in all the piano songs and collect every little, the little house you get with all the figurines and all the collectibles and everything. I was trying to get like everything in that game. And I stopped for my own sanity. I was just
Ryan, did you play it?
I'm done.
I haven't gotten to it yet, so I'm still trying to stay off on it for now. I'm just trying to catch up. Like anybody, I've got a fucking backlog that's like a mile long. So I'll get to it at some point. I do want to say though, I think PlayStation 6 will have a disc drive. Okay. I think the concern 7 is, that's like 2036, 37. PS6 is expected 2028. When you think about it, that's really not that far away.
No, not at all.
And most of the consoles Sony
sooner than we want it to be.
Yeah, most of the consoles Sony sells is still disc consoles. The ratio does still favor disc machines.
I hope so.
Thankfully. When it came out, the ratio was 80-20. So like it was 80% they were all disc consoles. Now I think it is getting a little bit closer to like 60-40. But, that's still good enough. I mean, when you look at like the sheer volume of games being sold, there's still millions of discs getting printed and sold. So I think it's safely expected for next gen on PlayStation. Nintendo at least 2.
Oh, I think Nintendo for sure.
I can't say Xbox having a disc on the next console if they even have another console.
I think Xbox, if we're actually going to humor the idea of the next cycle not having them, it's Microsoft.
They might not even have a console.
They love that Game Pass too much, man. Like they're all aboard on it. So
they're already pushing the streaming. Like, you don't need a console. All you need is an internet connection and a controller. They're already pushing that. So
I mean, it's brilliant the way it is. I mean, you can play games anywhere. Like it's
the future. Awesome. That's it. Like whether we,
I can see a future where you can download the new Xbox game on your mobile phone, like and you just connect your controller to it wirelessly, and that's literally how Xbox is going.
I think it'll all be cloud based. You won't be downloading nothing. Once the internet speeds are just outrageous. We're on 8G or whatever, and it's just like I don't think it's just going to be streaming.
Wow.
That's what I think it's going to be, sadly. But I don't know. I'm so against that. Like, so a lot of people, when they talk about physical, why do you like physical media and stuff? And I mean, obviously there's the nostalgia and there's like, I like the artwork. There's lots of things about it. But like, ultimately what it comes down to me is I like the sense of ownership. I really do.
Right.
Like, I want to, if I give you money, like, I want to keep what I get, and I don't want anyone to be able to screw with it or mess with it.
Some crazy weird update.
Yeah, or whatever. I don't like, my internet goes out sometimes. You ever had that happen? You ever go out? You have to sit in your house like a caveman, like it's the old days, and you have to figure out what you want to do with your life. Like, that sucks. And I don't like, oh my God, like the last time my internet went out, I went to play my PlayStation 5 and it was like, you can't sign in. I can't sign into my PSN account. So I can't get in and play my games. And I'm like, what the hell? I can't play my games without internet at all. This is bullshit. And then I look it up and it's like, all you got to do is you go in and there's a setting you can set. It says play your games offline or whatever. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. You go to the setting. And guess what? If you're offline, you can't log in to change the setting.
Wow.
So you can, if you have the internet, you can go in and set it up so you can play offline. But if you haven't set that up and you can't get in to sign in, it won't let you select the option to play offline. I was like, oh my God, I can't play my PlayStation at all. I was so upset.
That should have been turned on for you
I
automatically.
tell you
I have 2 PS5s.
Okay, well, that's the problem. Yeah, you can
I
only
had
enable one offline.
Correct. So I had to.
System.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, it's that talk about a first world problem. I had to go get my other PS5 guys, who was such a pain in the ass. But like, still, I was just like, the idea of me being in my living room, being like, I can't play my PlayStation because I don't have internet. This is so crazy. Oh man, that drove me nuts.
well, like if you don't have internet, you can't set a PS5 up these days, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yes, you can.
Oh, sorry.
USB drive,
You
right?
can't set a disk drive PS5 up. You need to connect the internet to the disk drive.
Okay, let's settle down, buddy. That is the problem. Yes, in theory, the old machine you could completely set it up offline. What's cool is that Sony always did this since the PSP days, which is like if you want to stay offline, or for whatever circumstance, maybe you're like overseas or something, you could stay offline with all their consoles because even when you bought a game that, let's say, needs a firmware update, the firmware updates carried on the game. Like, does anybody remember this? Like, this was probably like more common on PSP where people were not putting those online, but you insert a PSP game, you'd have to take on a system update for like a new game because the game would have the update on it. Like that still happens today. So you can update, PlayStation 4 or 5 console firmwares from newer game discs if for whatever reason you have to stay offline.
Yeah, and I've seen
Interesting. I didn't know that.
For PS3, they used to sell firmware update discs. I've seen people have like software update discs for the PS3 from Europe and stuff like that.
That's a ripoff. The
Yeah,
games have them.
I've seen them. So they're collector's pieces. They're not like super valuable or anything, but I've seen a few PS3 collectors have them. It'll just say like version firmware, at 2 point ... whatever, blah blah blah. For the thing, it's kind of neat.
Yeah,
it's still in a PS3 case, so it looks cool.
Yeah. Like I bought a new in-box PlayStation Vita recently that was on like the very first firmware. And when I went to put in Uncharted Golden Abyss, which is a launch title, like Uncharted Golden Abyss was still too new. Like it wanted version 1.10 instead of 1.0. So it prompted me to install a firmware update. So it's like, it's cool that you can do that though.
That's cool that it's on the disc.
Yeah.
But I just also too, I just want to go back to another point. I'm glad you brought up, like, I think a lot of people are like very under the impression these days that no games are playable from the disc anymore. Like, and that's such it's so incorrect. And I just want to give a shout out to a couple Twitter accounts. Nintendo Revised, who's been a guest on the show, they basically go around and check Nintendo Switch carts to find the most up-to-date version of the carts available. So like if there's a version that came out in another region that has a more complete or updated version of the game on the cart, they'll like let you know. So if you are like into that sense of ownership, or you want like the most complete physical editions that play straight from the cart without having to update and stuff, they're a really, really, really useful account to follow because they test everything. And then also there's another account called Does It Play? I love that account. I follow them, and they do more. They do everything. They test up, but more PlayStation stuff. But if they'll tell you like the game, does it need a patch? Does it play offline? What doesn't work? Like, so they'll be like, everything works, but for some reason, save file 4 doesn't. I don't know why, but everything else works. You can play from the disc. So if you guys are ever concerned about that, you should check out those accounts because they're very helpful in telling you like what does and doesn't play. Or if you straight up want to avoid things that do not work without an update, that's very nice too, because I avoid stuff like that if I can, unless I really want it. And then a lot of the times I'll just buy it and play it and sell it because I don't want to keep it because it doesn't have the long-term value to me. So very cool accounts. Check them out. Does It Play? Okay. Nintendo Revised.
Yeah, love that.
Although
community. I've been with them for a little bit now.
Oh, you follow them too? Or do you help them out? Or
I can't, if they have questions, I can usually chime in. Like I was helping them out with the detachable disk drives when PS5 came out, since I bought 2 right away to test them out. But yeah, I love that community. They do amazing work.
Yeah.
Right on.
I'm into the gaming community in general. I gotta say, they're just people out there that are literal saints. I don't know how else to describe it. They put so much time and effort into helping other people in the community for like no reward, and it's insane. Like all the people work on emulators and FPGAs and just, oh my god, just thank you everyone who's doing stuff like that, because I'm just a scrub who wants to just buy and play games. I don't have time for all that, so I appreciate the hell out of all this information. I do. Yeah. I really do. Like, I know that life's busy, we all have things to do, and you take your time out of the day to just help people out and provide information like that, you're a good person. Axiom for $1.99. What's the year's most anticipated game yet to come this year?
For this year?
Most anticipated. I have to think about this.
Boys, this is easy. Come on.
Oh, man.
Astrobot.
Astrobot is looking
Astrobot. Come on.
I did order the controller for it.
It's a colorful big budget 3D platformer from PlayStation. It's an easy answer.
Yeah.
Astrobot, baby. That is the most PlayStation 2 looking PS5 game ever, and I am all for it.
It does look good. Did you order the controller, right?
Okay, so here's the collecting portion of it, where I can say I chose not to get it because I'm trying more recently to put a hard cutoff on things I do and do not buy. At a certain point, it's like, how many fucking controllers do I need?
Apparently for me, it's like 7.
Well, the weird thing is that if it were just standard controllers, I'd probably do it. But with the Edge, like if you buy a DualSense Edge, it's a $200 Pro controller. Mm-hmm. I'm never gonna not play that. True. Like I'm never gonna use a standard controller ever again. So I just can't justify buying like regular DualSense controllers, even if it's Astro. At that point, it really is an $80 like shelf item. Which, hey, I'm no stranger to expensive shelf items, but I've got a lot of them now. So,
Pokemon.
Yeah, so I'm done.
There's a point where you're better off buying an $80 game than a controller. It's just fit more games on the shelf than controllers.
If I'm gonna burn $80, it's probably gonna go to a game or something. So,
right on.
Meanwhile, I'm over here like I don't even want to play Conquered, but I pre-ordered that controller. I did. That shit's on its way. Let's go.
I would say for me, man, I mean, the game I've been waiting for this year already came out, which is Final Fantasy Rebirth. So, yeah, man, that game's amazing. It fixes a lot of the issues the original game had. So it's an amazing experience for me, because playing Final Fantasy 7 back in the day when it came out and beating it, I was disappointed with some stuff in that game and it left me hanging. But this game I feel like it fixes all that stuff. So it's been an amazing experience, but I really got to get back into it again and play it some more, unlock some more stuff. But that's my game of the year, I would say.
Not to
That's a
derail,
kind of corny answer, but it'd be the Pixel Remaster Collection coming to retail stores. Just on that, the price in Australia is actually $130. It's the first game I've seen retail for more than $100 in like 15 years. It's just crazy.
What's the original price in America for it then?
It's $80,
right? Or $75.
$75 for that type of game?
That's very unusual. As far as I know, I don't think I've ever seen like a base regular copy of a game go over the 70 MSRP. It's 75.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why
I wonder
if
I Am 8-Bit did that stupid Annapurna collection for $199 for their cartridge.
Well, for Switch, right?
Yeah, for the Switch.
Okay.
So not for PlayStation, but that was wild.
That's a weird one. Yeah. But the whole thing with the Pixel Remaster was that it was, Sunday, 2 a.m, pre-orders go up, a $75 game. Plus it was Square's site, which means it's their shipping. Mm-hmm. And the base, doesn't matter where you live. Shipping was $25. So I remember this so well, where like the Wario64 tweet talking about here's the pre-order link. And all the replies were like, why is this $100 to get shipped to me? Mm-hmm. So many people said, F that, I'm not buying that game. And then sold out $1,000 on the secondhand market. So it is still awesome news that there's a reprint.
Here's a conspiracy theory, guys. Square are like, people aren't going to want to pay $75 for a game. Let's put out 2,000 copies for a year, make every single person want one, and then they won't complain when we re-release it at $75. Because that's what happened.
Here's the problem with that.
If it works.
Here's the problem with that. That's too smart, and Square's not smart. I don't think that's what happened.
No, I agree with you. I think they're just wow. Yeah. They came out with like 5 games in 1 year, and they were all called oh god, what were those names of those tapes?
Eternal something
names. No, they had like a bunch of farming. They had Harvestella, which was like whatever. Then they had another one that was like, oh god, it had the worst name ever. It was like Daily Game or something. I can't remember what it was called. Like, oh gosh, I don't know. They came out with just a bunch of generic ass games, and then they had Forspoken. They made a bunch of missteps for sure. But I'm sure they'll get back on track. I like Square. They'll do all right. They'll figure it out.
They have the good thing they're doing. It's how they go wrong,
is bringing the games to more retailers, so people have easy access to them. That's good.
Yeah, they should be releasing. As much as I like exclusives, and that's a lot of people's complaint about this generation. There's not enough exclusives, but I think for Square, they should be releasing on PC and PlayStation. And they should have came out with try to make a PS4 version of Rebirth. I'm surprised they didn't. So my game of the year contender, or my not really game of the year, but the only one that I'm really looking forward to, which I have mixed feelings on now, is I was also really looking forward to Black Myth Wukong. I don't know if you guys were checking that game out, but I've heard it's not getting a physical. That's what I've heard. I heard that is going to be a code in a box or some shit like that.
So I'm like, I won't play that unless it's like $1 on Game Pass. Because I don't want to buy expensive digital games. I'd rather buy a physical game that I can own.
Yeah, especially for a single player experience. Maybe PlayAsia will do a physical for it. You know how they just come out with those.
Well, see, here's the thing that I have hope for is that you guys heard about Alan Wake 2 not making its money back.
I was just going to say,
at this point,
if Alan Wake 2 is anything to go by, just wait.
Yeah,
somebody will pick it up.
So I just want to say that all of you grumpy people out there who are like, no physical, no buy, keep it up. You're doing great. We're going to make them release physicals one way or another. If they only make half the money they think they're going to make, they go, physical sounds good. But at the same time, like, I don't know, you got to support it. So like I said the same thing when Baldur's Gate 3 came out. I was so upset because like I wanted that game so bad. I was like, I love Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. This game looks so good. But there was like no physical. And then when they finally did release the physical, the Japanese copy or whatever, like it was like one disc and like it wasn't all on the disc. It was like one of those fake physical releases, I call it, where it's like they released a physical just to say they did, but you're not really getting it. You know what I mean? But so then when they finally were like, all right, here's the full version. Everything's on the disc. Here's everything you've been complaining about and waiting for, Joe. I was like obligated to get it in my mind. I was like, I have to support this. they did what I like wanted. Like I was so mad that they didn't, but they finally like saw the light and they were like, you know what, we're gonna make the physical copy that the people.
I still want to complain that they only made a collector's edition, but that's just
Dude.
me.
Yeah, but it's only a $99.99, which to me that's for what that is. I think that's a really good deal.
I'm still waiting for an Australian reprint. Just on that, the Halloween collector's edition just got announced, and they're just coming out with a single case collector's edition, which is perfect. Physical copy.
See, that's a good topic of conversation, which is buying physical nowadays. We are coming out spending much more than the first digital release, which, you know, I would argue 10 years ago, it was not like that at all. Because almost always secondhand, when you're buying used, it's going to be cheaper than new on PSN. But nowadays, it really is something where oftentimes we have to wait. And then by the time we're paying for it, it is definitely more money than what it costs on PSN, especially by the time the game has had, you know, multiple sales or whatever the case is. Like, what's like the retail? What's the cost for Cat Quest 3 right now on PSN? Is it 30? Is it the same as retail?
Probably.
Like, maybe, but like Stray was one of them. Chia, Cane of Bridge of Spirits. Dude, there's so many digital games where it's like you hold off, you wait for the disc print. Almost always you're going to be spending like 40 minimum versus the 20, 25 it was day one. Yeah. And then for the bigger budget stuff, you know, Alan Wake 2 or Baldur's Gate 3, it's in a very ironic way, we are paying more to get those disc prints.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it costs money to ship and produce, and like I'd happy to pay a little bit more knowing that they will still produce it for collectors, because we're out here saying we want physical and things like that.
Oh yeah, Switch games especially, they're always usually more expensive than physically, I think.
It's just fascinating how it turned out, you know, because almost always like buying physical is not just cheaper, but like way cheaper if you're like savvy and wait for sales, and now it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, but like you have to wait a really long time. It's not like it used to be where if you waited 6 months, you could get it on a sale. Now you got to wait a few years and you might be able to get it on clearance or something like that. And there's always the risk that that doesn't happen. So like there's plenty of games where I try to be patient for. And then what ends up happening is they just sell out and then they go way up in price. And I was like, no, like that happened with Scorn. That Scorn game that they announced to reprint it was like $50 forever. And I was like, oh man, I really don't want to pay $50 for that game. It doesn't look, it looks like a decent game, but it doesn't look like I'm going to really love it. So I'm like, I just don't want to pay that much for it. But like I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited, and it never got a price drop. And so finally I caved, and I'm like, I'm buying it for 50, whatever. And then it sold out, and it was like going for 100, 200, 250 for like months. And now it's getting reprinted finally. But like, yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. Like you said, like you can try to be patient and it bites you in the ass. And for the Switch, that never works out. Like the Switch, you're like, oh, I'll wait for a sale. No. You buy it like if it's $5 off, that's a good deal. Might as well get it.
Just on that, Joe, I don't know if it's like this in the States right now. I'm sure it's coming like that. But in Australia right now, if I want to buy games, I don't find them in the shops anymore. Like if I go to EV Games, the section of their games, it's the same. It's actually games from 2014 to 2018. They don't have anything recent.
Wow.
The recent games there's one new copy. It's all the old shit that back when they were making like, you know, thousands and thousands of games. That's the stuff that's in the shops.
Do they have all that toy filler in there now?
Sorry, Reggie?
Do they have all that like toy filler in the EB game stores now? Like kind of like 5 of the games?
Yeah, it's t-shirts, it's toys, it's posters, it's cards. Like the games are so tiny. I went to JB Hi-Fi and I used to post videos where I would pick up 100 games. There wasn't even 100 games in the shop anymore. Like it was just one copy of each game, and each game was $69 or $59. It wasn't anything on special. It wasn't any pre-owned games, because it's just that's not the markets anymore. The only place you find this stuff are the secondhand shops, but they don't get the new stock. So we're not going to get clearance games like we used to. Every secondhand shop's looking on eBay and selling it. You know, eBay prices are 10% under. Like I'm not finding anything on clearance like I used to anymore. maybe a handful of Amazon sales, but even the Amazon sales we get here aren't that good, you know.
They're forcing everybody to do pre-orders. You know, like it wasn't like that back in the day. You could go into those game stores and find all kind of games you never heard of before. New games just coming out that day, but now this whole pre-order thing, which you know they want everybody to do, they won't even get it in the store unless somebody pre-orders it or enough people pre-order that item, which is pretty sad. Like I remember I walked into it's GameStop where I'm at, and I walked in the store and I said, they said this new World War Z game came out. I said, oh wow, you guys have it? Did you pre-order? I said, no, I just found out about it today. You should have pre-ordered. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like, that's crazy. You know, I was like, man, like, you know, you can't even go into these stores and find like newer games anymore. They want everybody to pre-order no matter what, you know. So it was pretty crazy.
Speaking of pre-orders, I did have a couple games announcements I wanted to go over real quick before we get into pickups.
All right.
So the first one, this is finally getting a physical release, which I've been waiting for forever. Pre-orders are now live for Killer Clowns from Outer Space. You can get it over at VGP, I think.
Huh.
So if you like Evil Dead, if you like Dead by Daylight, if you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is another one of those games. I'm going to get it just because I'm a huge fan of the film. Like, I love that movie. And so I haven't played the game yet because I was waiting, hopefully, for a physical, and now they're getting one. So I just wanted to point out that that's happening in case anyone's been listening to the show. And you've heard me say many times there is no physical for that game. Now there is. I also want to point out that I saw this today. Inscription apparently got a reprint. And the PNP games, which I think is some related to limited run somehow. I'm not sure, but I
$55. Ouch,
dude. That's
what kind of game is it?
Okay, so Inscription is like a deck card game. Which is Well, honestly, I'm not into that genre. And when Special Reserve Games announced that game, I was like, I don't know if that's for me. But dude, it was like selling for like $250 at one point. It was going for so much money. It won like Game of the Year or some shit. I'm pretty sure. Like it won.
Really?
Like I can't remember. Like
I remember that.
It's supposed
very
to
well
be
received.
It's supposed to be an absolute. Yeah, exactly. So I heard deck building, and I was like, I'm not interested at all in the card game. But I heard this game is absolutely incredible. So when I changed my mind, and I'm like, I should go back and get it. It was just wicked expensive. So then what ended up happening is, you know how Special Reserve kind of went out of business or closed their storefront or whatever? They opened up an eBay store, and they were selling copies for like 85, 75, 80, 85, something like that. And that was the cheapest I'd seen it for a while until this. So this just got announced. So for $55, I know that sounds like a lot, but that's actually the cheapest I've seen that game in like 2 years or something like that. So I thought that was really fascinating. So anybody interested in that?
I've got the original print of that one.
Nice. Did you get the actual special edition in the black box or whatever?
Special reserve with its little, what are they? They number it like 1 out of 1,000, 5,000 or something like that.
Yeah. So if you look on my shelves, I have like almost all of those. See those black boxes right here? Those are all the special reserve ones. And now I'm just kicking myself so hard that I didn't get that game. And I was just like, it was one of those things. This is why FOMO exists. It's because of shit like this. You just don't buy like 1 or 2 things, and then it just bites you in the ass, and it's just like it haunts you forever. And then you end up ordering everything that comes up for pre-order. So this is interesting. It's not a game, but I did want to point this out because I showed this off on the podcast, and this is it was really hard to find a copy of this, but Ninja Scrolls getting a limited edition Blu-ray release for the 30th anniversary. And if you tried to get a copy of this, it was really expensive online. I had to order mine from Europe even to get a copy. So if you're into anime or into 90s anime, or if you ever wanted a copy of Ninja Scroll, I would totally get that because it's going to sell out and be insanely expensive like it was right before that got printed. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about this. I'm obsessed with Evil Dead. It's like my favorite thing in the world, like my favorite movie. I have tons of stuff, shirts, board games, everything. I love Evil Dead. So the fact that they're making a new Evil Dead games in itself is just amazing. And basically what this is Way Forward is making it. They're like 2D action games. And it's a combo. One of them's based on Halloween and one of them's based on Evil Dead. And if you go to bossgames.com, I believe it is, there is a collector's edition that you can order for it straight from their website that comes with like fake miniature arcade cabinet, a Michael Myers plushie, comes in a huge box, got a bunch of stickers and like coins and shit like that. It's a pretty cool edition. I'm a little bummed it doesn't come with an Ash figurine. It just comes with a Michael Myers because clearly Ash is cooler than Michael Myers. I'll fight you. I don't really care if you disagree with me. Ash is the man. And I did want to just share the trailer with you guys.
Right on. Take a look.
Let's check it out. And I'm not going to play the audio just because it's got the theme from Halloween in it, and I don't want to get hit. Who's this asshole? There we go. So yeah, just a minute and 10 seconds long. But it looks great, dude. At first, I thought it was going to be like a combo. I thought they were going to make like a Halloween skin for the Evil Dead game. Like I thought they were just going to add characters, but yeah. I mean, dude, what? You kidding me?
This looks good.
Oh, it looks good, man.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And you get to play as Michael Myers is murdering everybody. I don't think that's normally how games go, but I'm down with that. And this is what I'm all about. So the only thing about this that I'm a little disappointed in, as far as I can tell, I do not believe it has Bruce Campbell as like voice acting or whatever. Now I could be wrong, maybe that he is, but they did not show that in the trailer at all. And I just feel like they would. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they would,
Right.
if he was in it, like that would be a major selling point. So it'd be foolish of them not to show it. So I just had to point that out as an Evil Dead nut that game's coming out. I just was like so excited when I saw that. Also, Did you guys hear? Supposedly they're making an Evil Dead cartoon.
Oh, they are. That's what
and Bruce Campbell is going to be voice acting in it, which is what that's a great idea because he's said before he's just too damn old to keep making
keep doing it. Yeah.
He's like almost 70 years old or something. He's like, I can't be running around covered in blood with a chainsaw on my arm fighting monsters and being 70 fucking years old. Like it's just no, dude, I'm done with that. So they've tried to like reboot it with new casts and they're trying to make new Evil Dead movies, and those are fine. If you guys saw the new Evil Dead and Evil Dead Rise and stuff, they're cool. Whatever, they're fine, but they're not Ash. They're not Bruce Campbell. And in my opinion, Bruce Campbell is Evil Dead. Like he is Evil Dead. Without Bruce Campbell, it's not. It's just not the same. It's not it. So I'm so glad that they're doing this because now we can get more of Ash. And he can keep doing it. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Reggie? I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off.
No, right on, man. That's good news. You know, I think Bruce Campbell has enough to do one more Evil Dead movie, but I mean, I don't know. I felt like Evil Dead, the series, kind of like
if they can trot Harrison Ford out in his freaking 1,000 years old to make Indiana Jones.
I just thought about that. They can do the aging stuff.
Yeah,
well, it'd be expensive, but
sure.
they can make that happen.
They could make it happen.
Yeah, but will it? I don't know.
They won't, but I hope so. They do. If they do make it, they'll make it with a new cast, which they'll bring Pedro in from the show and everything. The show is great. I don't know if you ever saw the show. All right, let's talk about it. Do you guys want to do pickups?
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's show some stuff off. Sweet. Can you mind if I go first? Just because I don't have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, go for it.
Really, really anticlimactic if I go last. What do you got? These three things. Shit. All right. So I don't have a lot of stuff because, like I said, we've done 3 episodes in like 3 days, and I mean, there's only so much stuff to go by. So the first thing,
not good enough, Joe. We have to talk about this.
I know. Well, if you want, I could just lie and be like, "Oh, I just got this. What What else? I just got a Tomb Raider the other day, guy. Just show off stuff I've never shown off. All right, so the first thing I picked up is I got Five Nights at Freddy Help Wanted 2.
Yes.
So this was on sale on Amazon for $19.99, and that's a good price. So I grabbed it. And ever since the PS4 VR2 price drop and like everybody went crazy buying all those things, I've just been like starting to feel the FOMO a little bit on PSVR2 physical titles. And like before, I was kind of collecting them lethargically, like whatever. I was just grabbing them here or there. But now I'm kind of like, oh man, I feel like I should get the ones I want at least before they're sold out. Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't think they're going to be doing like reprints of these games. And I don't even know if they're going to be manufacturing more PSVR2 headsets. Maybe we would have talked about that. But I mean, I don't know. You think they're going to make another batch? I'm not even sure if they're just going to give up on it completely. But I just I guess I wanted to grab this. Oh, another one title, by the way, that I wanted to mention to you, Reggie, is there's a PSVR horror game that I ordered from Play Asia. It's called Overdark. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's based in the same world as those Do Not Open games.
Oh, really?
You're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like only available in Europe. It's not getting a Western release, and it's a horror game. It's PSVR 2 only, so you do need to have a VR 2 to play it. But I just feel like that game,
it's scary though. Those Do Not Open games are pretty terrifying.
Yeah, and this game looks good, and it's kind of obscure. It's kind of hard to find, and I think that down the road that's going to be a bitch to get. So I would recommend finding that one. That Dark game. Even if you don't have a PSVR 2 now, if like you ever plan on getting one down the line, that's just one of those games I would snag. So this other game, remember where I was talking about, like, you know, I usually wait for a sale.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for this game to go on sale, and it just like basically never did. And so I started to get worried that it's going to sell out and be hard to find. So I just bought it for full price, which is only $40. It wasn't that expensive, but I grabbed Ghost Runner 2.
Oh, wow.
These games are really dope. Like, I really like them. They're like first person speed running games, I guess you'd say. Like, I don't know, they're like super intense,
like Mirror's Edge
action. Yeah, kind of like you're running around and you're bouncing off stuff and you're like fighting enemies, and you kind of have to do everything as like fast as can. There's like timers and like rankings and stuff to do everything super fast. I don't think they look really fun. And yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to get it before it sold out, so I grabbed it. It's Ghost Runner 2.
It's the kind of game where like each level is a very short burst, and in the manner he's talking about, it's like there'll be a number of dudes out, and you can wall climb and jump around and shoot bullets, and basically if you get hit, you die right away. So like the level restarts immediately, and it's just kind of like this very awesome kinetic, like you keep dying over and over again, but you get that one little run that's perfect, and you kill everybody all in one go. And there's like 80 something levels. It's a pretty big game.
Yeah, it's like it's like Hotline Miami kind of, if you think of it like that.
Sure,
way.
yeah.
So it's like not obviously very different, but that style of, like you said, it's like you're trying to get that one perfect run where you kill everybody without getting shot, and you know the better you do it, it's just fun. It's right up my alley. And you know, Ghost Runner 1 came out on PS5, and so I had to have Ghost Runner 2. So and then my last pickups, they're not games at all. They should just randomly things. So like one of the things that, like, I don't know, I consider myself a proper nerd, but like one of the things I'm kind of weak on and I don't really know much about is comics. Like I really don't know much about comic books. So I've just been kind of like delving back into that world a little bit. And one of the ones that I did like to read a lot when I was a kid was Lobo. I don't know if you guys know what Lobo is, but I decided to start collecting Lobo again.
Right
on. So I picked up, these are like the first 4 Lobos or whatever in the series, 1 through 4 or whatever.
Okay.
They're still super cheap. They're not expensive or anything, but the way I describe it, they're like I said, I was like an edgelord when I was a kid, so I liked anything that was offensive and over the top, and like, you know, basically anything like you weren't supposed to be reading or watching when you were a kid. You know what I mean? I always like horror movies when I was 12, and just anything I wasn't supposed to do. That's what my favorite thing to do was. So Lobo was like this really edgy, violent, over the top character. a lot of people have compared him to Deadpool. Like he's the Deadpool of DC. And the reason I decided to jump on these now is that you noticed how like the Deadpool movie came out and like all of a sudden everybody wanted Deadpool stuff and the Deadpool game is insanely expensive and everybody wants that game right now. Well, they're going to be making Lobo movies soon. And I've heard Jason Momoa is going to be Lobo. He's not going to be Aquaman anymore. He's going to be Lobo. And I just have a feeling that most people have no fucking idea who Lobo is. And when those movies come out, people are going to be like, this is cool. I like Lobo. And then this stuff's going to be a little more sought after. And I feel like these comics are going to be a little harder to come by. Maybe they're going to go up in a little price. So I just wanted to get them now. There's only like 60, I think, total in the whole series or whatever. And then he's like makes appearances in other comics and shit. So anyway, the point is I'm going to collect a bunch of Lobo stuff now while it's still cheap and nobody cares. But you never know. I might look like a genius in like a couple years if all of these are worth 10 times as much because all of a sudden everybody loves Lobo. So, but because do you guys ever heard of Lobo? Nobody, right?
Never heard of it. I heard of him last week when you started talking about him.
Yeah, I mean it's really like edgy, stupid. So it's like, look at that bite me fanboy. Like it's like really like, cringy stuff. So, you got beautiful artwork like this. I'm not even sure what to make of that.
What?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's good stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, mark my words, in a few years, everybody's going to be knowing who Lobo, or maybe it'll be the worst movie ever made and totally bombs, and everyone will be making fun of me. Like, I can't believe you own that, loser. No.
I mean, either way, if you do bad, look at the breakdancing Australian from the Olympics who now is.
Oh, Raygun?
Yeah, exactly. Raygun.
She's an inspiration to us all.
So if you do really bad, you blow up as well.
I had no idea that I currently possessed enough skills to perform breakdancing the Olympics, but I do. I could do that. I could do just as good of a job as she did.
Whoa! Settle down.
Right
partner.
now.
Settle
Right
down.
now.
What are you on right now? Raygun killed it out there.
It's true.
That shit was tight.
Dude, all I know is I've seen so many good memes for fucking Raygun. My favorite one I saw today was the kid from Karate Kid doing the crane kick, and she was over there like doing this right next to him.
Seeing the windscreen wipers on the car.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but that was a lot of movement out there. Like, I'm getting old, son. That shit would hurt if I tried to get out there and do some shit like that.
That's true. I got carpal tunnel.
It might have looked
But
silly.
she did the whole like when you send a game in to get graded to get like the lowest mark possible. She did that. I've never seen a score that low. I didn't know it was possible.
That's a lot of energy. I'd be breathing heavy as hell after that.
Me again? Oh.
I haven't got much stuff, so I'll go through. For the first two, I ordered this game off eBay, and the guy messaged me saying, "Hey, I live around the corner. Do you want me to drop it off?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Oh shit!
That's so weird.
We're gonna have to prove our skills, apparently, boys.
We demanded dance off. So anyway, I look for his store, and I'm like, I'll make it worth his while. I bought something else. First one is Crash Nitro Kart.
Hey.
This is, as I was saying, I'm going through like my PS2 collection right now and finishing out series. So this is like $15. It's a Crash game, super fun. I've had it as a kid. Black Label, really nice copy. And then the other one was on the 3DS. We got a copy of New Super Mario Brothers 2. So it turns out the guy's actually like a YouTuber. He just started making YouTube videos. Checked out my channel. That's why he wanted to come around. He actually wanted to meet me, but it turns out I was at the post office. So wrote me a note, which is pretty cool. But yeah, he started making YouTube videos, going to garage sales and picking up games on Marketplace and selling them. And yeah, it's pretty cool to get new people out there. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description if anyone wants to check it out. Next, we move on to my next obsession, which is Pokemon. I'm trying to collect them all, as you guys may or may not know. And by meaning that, I mean all the games and all the Australian versions, which it's quite difficult to get Australian versions of these games. They can be double the price of the UK or the US copies, or even 5 times the price in some instances.
It's
But
insane,
here's
bro.
some that I picked up recently. So it's cool to knock out this set. So we got Pokemon White. I got this one for $95, which is like $15 cheaper than what it usually goes for. And we got White 2. And I got this one for $180, and it goes for like $200 every single day on eBay. So I'll take that.
Yeah,
It's
God,
nice
I'm
to
so
have
glad
these
I
two.
don't like Pokemon.
I'm down to, for the mainline set, just Pokemon Platinum, Emerald, Sapphire, and Leaf Green. And then I've got them all. But then there's spin-off titles as well. And I think there's 17 titles total for every single one. So maybe in the next 3 or 4 months, we'll complete the set. It's all about condition now. Like, there's copies of Sapphire. There's like 20 copies on eBay. I'm not interested in any single one. They're all not. They don't tick the boxes. Next, I actually got a package this morning from a guy over in the Netherlands. We got some really cool stuff. So the first one's interesting. I'm a Chelsea supporter. So here we have FIFA 15, the Chelsea edition. And this is actually quite interesting. I wasn't sure how this worked. It's actually got 2 artworks in there. So this is a separate artwork, and then once you remove it, it's got the regular FIFA 15 artwork behind it. I'll show you guys.
I was just gonna say that's very unusual.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So what it was over in Europe, a lot of clubs do this, and it's part of like a membership package. They'll include a copy of FIFA, because most of their members buy FIFA anyway, and it'll be like a special club edition. And some of these editions go for hundreds of dollars because there'll be like 200 copies. And the Dortmund, for example, and PS3, they have one with 500 copies, and it's like a $200 game because Dortmund supporters are crazy and all want this. But this was like $15, so I'm really happy to have it. It's pretty cool for their collection, and as a Chelsea fan, I'll definitely have it. And now these next 2 are both slipcovers. As you guys can see behind me, these are all PlayStation 3 slipcovers up to about here. I've got like 120 of them. I'm kind of going for a full set of worldwide slipcovers for the PS3. I'm missing like 20. There's always more being discovered. So this one's interesting. It is an Uncharted 3 pre-order box, which isn't like an official release, but it was an official Sony product. And it was a slipcover, so I'll definitely have it in the collection. It just literally says pre-order box, but they wore it out in a slipcover. So that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
And then it's got like a network card behind it, so it's not the official game or anything.
That's weird, man.
If it's a pre-order slipcover, what the hell's it covering?
Yeah,
Can't be the game.
It's weird. And the next one is a FIFA slipcover, but this is actually really rare. This is a Spanish exclusive, and it is for the 2010 World Cup. And it's a pretty cool slipcover. I've been after this one for years, so happy to have it. It wasn't expensive or anything. Like it's FIFA. No one actually wants these, but I've been looking for it for years and haven't been able to find one, so I'm happy to have it in the collection. Who would like to go next?
Right on. Yeah, I guess I'll go next.
Oh, we got a question for you real quick, Reggie. So still alive for $5. Said, sup, Reggie, I saw your videos and was wondering where you bought that De-Working Designs Alundra. I'm interested in maybe picking it up too. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it. It actually went up for pre-order today, and that'll be the first pickup I show here. But I got it from Project Retro Games. You can follow them on Instagram, or you can just type in projectretrogames.com and it'll take you to their store. But yeah, he's talking about this, and this is the Alundra Unworking Design, which fixes a lot of issues that Working Designs did to games when they came to America. So the game is much more playable, where enemies are like their regular like stats and everything. Because this game is a good game, but it had weird jumps of difficulty as you played it. Like at certain points, it was like really weird, and it'd be really easy, hard, really easy, like just all over the place. But it fixes a lot of issues that game had, and it comes with a lot of collectible soundtrack, all that good stuff. So
can you show it off a little more? That's a nice.
Yeah. Sorry,
that's gorgeous.
It opens up like that, and then
that's
this
cool.
part has all the games inside. Here's the back of it and everything. So
does it come with a map?
It does actually. Well, I think it does. I can't remember. I did an unboxing of it. I think it comes with everything but a map. But no, it does come with a map. It comes with like 3 posters actually too. So it's pretty crazy what's packed in here. But yeah, that pretty cool.
That is cool.
Also, if you want to play that game, you have to have a modded PS1 because they weren't able to figure out the disk wobble detection. They just overrid it with the chip system. So make sure your system's modded if you pick this game up. And then we have, this is probably the game of the year, man, right here. I forgot to talk about this. Flashback 2 Collector's Edition. Yes, this is one of the best games
of the year.
Played.
Really? Come
Hell
on, man!
no,
It got terrible reviews.
This game is one of the worst games ever. I thought it was a cool pickup because it was going on Woot for $34, and originally this was $200, which I couldn't believe when I got the packaging. I said, okay, let's see what $200 is worth. And it's just a statue. It was just such a lame collector's edition, man. So if you paid $200 for this, man, I feel bad for you. But they're all on Woot right now for sale. The Xbox One is $30. PS4 one is $34. So yeah. I think that
I'm
for
sure
that price,
I'm sure it's worth that.
It's and it comes with the original game as a download code, so I thought that was cool. But as far as like thinking you're going to get a good game here, I mean, it's really up to your imagination for what you anticipate from certain games. It's definitely not what Flashback is. They tried something new with it when they should have just stuck with the old. But somebody might like it.
That's such an iconic controlling game, the way it's like Prince of Persia, the original, or something like that, or I don't know. It's just, why would you make that if you weren't going to make it like that first game? You know what I mean? Like, why even bother? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's such a niche title. Why wouldn't you make it like that?
I think what they do is they want to play it safe, so they'll say, hey, just use this IP and then put our game on that. That's what they do. Instead of just creating their own IP. But I did want to mention these movies. I think I mentioned to you guys before, but if you haven't seen these movies, you need to pick them up. They're great movies. And Ryan, are you a fan of the Dead Rising games?
Yeah, I enjoy them.
Oh, right on. Well, just to let you know, they got Dead Rising movies, which are actually pretty good. They were so good. Nice. I had to get the physical copy of them, man. So the first one definitely stays to the source material. The second one deviates, but it's still a good movie. So definitely keep your eye out for those of you if you're a Dead Rising fan or just curious in general. And then this movie is definitely a better movie than Terminator 3. This is Lady Terminator. And the tagline is, first she mates, then she terminates. And dude, this movie's great, man. I'm telling you guys, it's something else, man. It's got the red DVD cover and this is great time with this movie. I'll probably watch it tonight because I got it pulled out. But yeah, definitely check that one out. And then here, let's see. I think you got this one, Joe. Super Zangura.
Yeah,
it's like a Castlevania game. But
I love that game.
Oh, nice.
This game is fun as hell, dude. But yeah, it could be a little bit different. Like you have to get these keys to unlock other areas, so you have to really pay attention to what's on screen. But this game is a lot of fun, and yeah, a lot of people. Hopefully, more people will know about it because it just came out physical from Red Art Games. But yeah, definitely check this one out if you're a Castlevania fan.
Oh yeah, Red Art Games is supposedly back up in action. I don't know if you guys heard about the hack and they had to shut down and all that other stuff.
A couple days ago they finally got back up.
They're back up, and they also extended their summer sale to make up for it. So I'm pretty sure that sale they had going on is still going on. If you guys
just put your credit card details in, and you'll be right.
Yeah, so I don't know about that. I might PayPal.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. It's like, man, you don't want the information. Next game here. Look, don't judge me for this game. I thought I was getting a good deal, a $10 game.
You already showed the Terminator.
It's never a good sign. Oh, that's not that bad.
Dude, this game should have just been a movie, dude. It's just a walking
sim. Yeah.
It's like they walk super slow to make the game stand. Like it makes it worse, dude. Like you're like, hurry up, dude. We got to get to the next area. And
that would drive me insane.
I don't even know if I'm gonna play it now. I'm probably just gonna watch a video of it just to see, what it was about. I mean, production value wise, it's pretty good, but it's just not a game, unfortunately. I went it with high expectations. I thought it was gonna be some adventure like Mass Effect or something like that. Well, this is like a 4-hour game. It was $10 on
It's cheap, yeah.
Oh, it includes a digital art book and soundtrack. Oh, okay. I didn't even realize that. Okay. Well, yeah. Anyways, $10. Maybe you want to pick this up. Probably not. But this next game makes up for it because I got these games together. I got this on sale on Woot, $30. RoboCop. Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's a good game.
Dude, this is a true sequel to RoboCop 1, dang it. they got Alex Murphy back and the voice actor to do his voice. So really, and they got the RoboCop theme song playing like at certain points to get you pumped up. So, man, great experience with this one. I'm assuming you all seen RoboCop, right? The original, maybe.
Oh yeah,
long time ago.
Yeah.
I saw that shit when I was like 8 years old, and I should not have seen that movie.
It's pretty violent, man. But
so I had an older brother who's 5 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so all his friends would all watch movies, and I would always be like, "Can I watch? Can I watch?" And they're like, "No." And then I just beg them, and
they said, "Yeah, finally."
They're like, "Go ahead, dude." And so I watched all these movies way younger than I should have, and every single time I'd be like totally traumatized and be like, "This is fine." Like, you know
What's wrong with little
Joseph? They're like, "Are you scared?" I'm like, "No, I'm not scared. This is fine." But I also have to go to the other room and do something else. See ya. Like, it was just like, dude, I used to always.
I feel like crying now, guys. I'm not scared, but
bro, I literally watched Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a little kid, and I had a reoccurring nightmare about Freddy for like a decade.
Oh wow!
From that shit, dude.
The first one you saw was part 2, huh?
I don't even remember. I couldn't even tell you 2 or 3. But yeah, man, like, what a dumb thing for me to do.
Next game here, I got the Gran Turismo 2 Plus Edition, which includes a lot of stuff, I guess, that was cut out of the game.
I never heard of this.
This is another one of those Project Retro game releases.
Okay.
You need a modded PlayStation to play it, so just let everybody know. But it's got the long box. It's a press disc too. What I forgot to tell you guys. So when you buy from that website, you're getting pressed games. So they're not burned. You can see it's got the black or blue, whatever you want to say on the back, and yeah, you can see all that stuff. So very, very cool. Gran Turismo 2, I feel like it is a good starting point in the series for me. You know, because I'd rather play the PS1 versions. But yeah, got that. Then we have Fantastic Night Dreams Cotton for the PlayStation here. So that's another press game. Sorry about the glare.
Reggie's moved beyond regular PlayStation collecting, and he only gets shit that never came out.
Well, the game is finally translated in English, so it's kind of cool. But another release from Project Retro Games. And then here, I'm going to switch it up here a little bit, literally. For the Switch, I got Super All the Way Ranger, which is like I guess you could say a running gun, or you could say a Mega Man game. Yeah, I would say it's more like a Mega Man game. But very cool game. It's all sprite work and everything like that. I haven't got that far into it yet, so still got a bit more to play. But you can play as 2 different characters. The one has a gun, and the other one has like a slash attack. So different play styles, but another cool game there. And then I
think that's exclusive physically to the Switch too.
Yeah. And then I finally got Xeno Crisis for the Super Nintendo. So
nice, dude.
And not only that, you got the Genesis version. So now I can see which one is better. 16-bit wars all over again, right?
Genesis is going to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know if that's true, but that's my answer.
And then we got Planet Cube Edge for PS5, another Red Art Games. This game looks like a Game Boy game, but man, the action is fast paced in this game. It's brutal. You're going to get killed a lot, so just be aware of that. And then we got this game called Astro Flame. I didn't really like this one too much. I couldn't get past the first level. It's one of those games, once you lose all your power, you have to start back from a checkpoint. So I'm like, I ain't got time for that. But maybe I'll put in the time to get better at it. But it just seems kind of generic as I was playing. So there's nothing really pulling you in. Like, there's so many other better shooters you can be playing, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's tough to play something like that when Dodonpachi exists.
And is that it? Fear the Moon. I think that's how you pronounce this game. Fear the Moon.
This is so true, Prometheus.
This game is actually pretty cool.
That one looked pretty good. Fearmonium or whatever.
Yeah, Fearmonium. That's what I was just saying. Dang. This one kind of like reminds you of like Cuphead in a way, but it's more like the way the graphics look. Not different play style, but it's pretty twisted. And the transitions from this game are pretty crazy. Like, it's about this boy, he's having a nightmare about this girl, and like the Well, as you're playing as a girl, you can be running in a certain area, and the game will transition, and you don't even know it's transitioning. It'll like back out of screen, and then you see the vision of the boy's eyeball, like what he's seeing in his dream. So it's got cool transitions like that in the game. So this one definitely really cool. More of an indie title, so it's not pushing the PS5 or nothing like that. It seems like they're putting a lot of indie titles on PS5, which I hate, but that's just the route they're going. But anyways, that's all I got, man. Yeah, hopefully you guys saw some decent in there.
Oh yeah, very cool. What you got for us, Ryan?
Ryan, taking us home.
Yeah, I haven't really done a lot of like personal buys, but usually I'm always picking stuff up at least for like videos. So like one thing I was doing recently, I'm working on a video about the PS2 launch lineup. So now I need all the PS2 launch games. So I came back from one of our local retro stores, and they're already in the shelf, so I'm not pulling them out. But the ones I got recently, he had a bunch. He had Dynasty Warriors 2. I had Fanavision. He had Kessen, Madden NFL 2001. I got that. First print of Midnight Club. These were all first print black labels. Orphan, Scion of Sorcery, Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2 from Midway. Silent Scope.
Nice.
And then the first SSX, I actually didn't have that. I was kind of shocked at first. I thought I did have it, but didn't. So now I do.
That's an essential, all the SSX games.
Hey, I have 3. I'm like, oh, how do I not have the first one? Then I had Summoner, and then there's one other one in there. There's a handful of PS2 launch titles, though. So I'm only missing a few more out of that. But at the same time, I did pick up another game that's for an upload coming up sometime in like maybe November, December, somewhere around there. Black Site Area 51 for PlayStation 3.
That's a good game, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
This I fucking hate it. I'm playing it right now.
The controls are weird, man.
It's awful.
And it's glitchy. I played that one before. I played it before Call of Duty, and I liked it. But like going back to, I'm like, yeah, I could understand like the. But.
It's for a retrospective series I'm doing. I don't know if any of you guys saw the upload I did on Layer, Haze, and Folklore, but I'm going to start expanding that into a larger retrospective series. So I'm looking at more PlayStation 3 titles and some that are like maybe lesser known, or titles that were reviewed poorly, or like they just turned out like not all that good. So I'm like, oh, that's a perfect candidate.
And you're like Mind Jack, stuff like that.
I started filming it 2 nights ago.
Bionic Demand and
dude, I hate this game. It's so bad. Reggie, you're right. It's the controls. Like, so PlayStation 3 FPS games, almost always developers made L1 and R1 to shoot.
Oh, this one is so bad.
What? But no, that's my muscle memory on PS3. Any FPS game I play on PS3, I can take to it like that. L1, R1, aim, shoot. This game, no, it's L2, R2. Which that's just not what FPS games were doing on PS3. And there's no control scheme in the game. There's 3 different control schemes. There's none. So L2 is normally throwing a grenade in the game. So all this, my playthrough that I'm capturing, I just keep chucking grenades the second I see people because I'm thinking it's going to bring up the scope, and it's just not happening. But yeah,
everyone had that experience though. Like I remember switching from like PS3 games to like Star Wars Battlefront was the first one, and it's using L2 and R2, and I'm just throwing grenades every single game. I'm like, oh my god, not looking down scope, like free, like staffing into aim and shit like that.
Well, it's like if you were also playing a lot of 360 at the time, like that was the console where the triggers made sense. So a lot of first-person shooter games there is the proper, LT and RT. It's just not this, or LB and RB, I should say, but not on PlayStation 3. So it's just the game runs poorly. It's very weird. The NPCs are always running into walls and getting in the way. That's been a very strange experience. I can't say much about the PS2 launch titles because I don't have all of them yet, and so I can't film that just yet. That was like a handful of stuff I just came home with. And then the other sort of not gaming thing I'm doing right now, which like I outlined this in a recent pickups video, which is like I'm not buying nearly as many retro games nowadays because I'm funneling my money into a different hobby, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm buying a lot of cards now. So the cards I have are I have two collector rares of Nouvelle's Restaurant because I'm running a Nouvelle's deck. which is a funny archetype about like food. So all the monsters are like cooks and chefs, evil demon chefs, and you summon those, and then you tribute your opponent's monsters. And this is the field spell where it's a restaurant.
That's
so
cool.
I'm like building out the rarities of my decks. So I have ultra rares of these. Now I ordered collector rares. These were $9 a piece. And then I'm running Super Poly in my deck. So Starving Venom Fusion Dragon's always a good Super Poly target. So I have 4 copies of these, which just came in.
Nice.
So I'm just playing a shitload of Yu-Gi-Oh now. It's like it's weird how sometimes that happens, right? You get into spats of like, sometimes you have your highs and lows with hobbies, right? So it's like games. If I'm buying games, it's usually for a video. But the actual, like, just straight up hobby, like, dude, I'm buying so many fucking cards now, like booster boxes and ripping packs. And I held off on cards for a long time, man. I always knew it's like, don't get into it. Don't get into it. It's a trap. It's a trap. And it's like worse than games because it's glorified gambling if you want to rip packs.
Yeah, basically is.
So, yeah, I fell down the rabbit hole. And quite frankly, I can't get out of it.
Do you have
Exodia? Is that a Blue Eyes jump? Blanket behind you?
Yeah, the blanket too, right? Like that's obvious. Right here, it's
so
like
cool.
It's right out of view. But if I move that over, the very top shelf right there is a bunch of like PSA cards I'm getting now too.
Nice.
Some of my like favorite cards that I want in like a nice high rarity, and it's like encased in a display, and so I'm having fun with that. It's always like a good getaway from because the channel is always PlayStation, always video games, and sometimes it's nice to get away from that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's sort of what I meant by like my hobbying is sort of my collecting is very ADHD in that way, where like I'll be like all about PS1 for a little while, and then I'll be all about DVDs for a little while, and then I'll be about CDs for music for a while. Like you said, I like to collect. It's just a bug. I have the collecting bug. I like to collect all sorts of things. If there were cool spoons, I'd probably collect cool spoons. If you have me, you know what I mean? Like I don't care. I just like collecting. So it's nice to sometimes like have a little refresher. And also it's really nice. So I don't know about you guys, but like obviously collecting was a lot more fun back in the day when everything was cheap and available, and it wasn't like so painful to buy some of these games. Like it's not as fun to buy a game for $150 as it is to find it for cheap or whatever. So it's like it's nice to collect something that like isn't crazy like that. You know what I mean? Like these Lobo comics were like a couple bucks. Like they weren't like a lot, and there's like 60 of them, and I'm like excited about that. I'm like, cool, I could actually collect something that I'm having fun that I like. And like you said, some of those cards are like $8-9 a piece. So that's not like killing you. That's just fun. Like it's fun to collect stuff like that. Whereas sometimes it's just like, it's like collecting games is work these days. Like you got to like watch the eBay for months and put trackers and prices and negotiations and try to get your bid in. And like, it's stressful sometimes. It's not just like fun. So like, it's good to have other hobbies that you can kind of go out and get involved in, which is another reason I got into like the PlayStation magazines. I started collecting these like crazy because they're awesome. They're PlayStation related. They're still within the hobby, but like I can get them for $10 a piece every once in a while. They're not breaking the bank. Like they're just fun to collect. So I don't know. I think that's important. I don't like just always having like, I don't collect things just because they're expensive. I'm actually the opposite. I'm like, I don't care if they're expensive. I don't want them to be expensive. I want them to be affordable so I can collect them. I don't want them to, like some people are like, oh, isn't this great? The games cost $500. I'm like, if you own it, I suppose that's a good thing. But also as someone who like doesn't really sell stuff, I honestly don't care. Like, I don't want it to be super expensive. And people are like, would you be upset if like the market crashed and all the games became cheap and stuff? I'd be like, not really, because I didn't pay the retail. That I never paid the top dollar for any of my stuff. I got it all before it became expensive. So if it came back down, and it'd probably be worth probably what I paid for it. So that's not going to upset me. And second of all, that'd be great, because then there's some stuff that I gave up on owning that I could actually try to get again. Like there's some stuff that just gotten out of line, and I'm like, wow, I'm not getting that. It's not worth it anymore. So
I miss those days of like the rare stuff when it was cheap. Like, it wasn't a matter of, oh, I want to buy this $300 game. It was no, a $40 game. You just got to wait for it to show up, or a $5 game even. But like, it's rare because you've been looking for it for years, and you finally find this thing, and it might only be $10 like online, but might only sell once a year or things like that. But these days, like, people are so switched on with prices and everything. Like, if something's rare, it's expensive because people just associate that.
Yeah, makes me sad. So yeah, what's everybody got coming up? Figs, you making any videos?
Yeah, I got a few planned. I won't make any promises, but I've been streaming like every single day on Twitch, so definitely like making a lot of content right now, having fun.
Cool. So yeah, if you guys want to sub to Figsy, all the contacts are in the comments below. Reggie, what about you? You got anything coming up?
I'm kind of like going off the cuff right now. Like I might do another pickups video or something. See, I'm backed up, so I'm like, like I don't have nothing prepared, so I have no idea. But it's easy to say probably like maybe a pickups video or something like that.
So aren't you doing some expos soon too? I saw some announcements for that.
Yeah, the Portland Expo is coming up late September, so that's next month. Yeah, we're preparing for that. Me and Jason are doing a panel on there about game collecting today versus yesterday. Like yesterday back in the 2010s and stuff. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, make sure you guys go down and sub to Reggie to get all that content. And if you want to meet him at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, you go ahead and do that. Yeah. And then Ryan, what about you? You making any grills out of PS5s? Anything cool coming up?
Not right now. No. This coming Tuesday, if this video gets done in time, is about exploring used PS2 memory cards.
That's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I did that.
You like go back and finish the games and stuff, finish up the files?
Yeah, the one upload I did last year did really well, and then I did it again for PS1, and then I was like, okay, that's it. But people are like, no, keep doing more. So I'm like, all right, I'll do a version 2. So I've already looked through like 10 of them right now. I've booted up most of the save files for copies I have, and so this weekend I'll probably like finish up some of the save files that are like kind of near the end to where it's like reasonable for me to do it, and so that'll be the sort of title. Like I loaded up these saves and I beat their save files too.
That's a lot.
That's
of fun.
Cool. I love it.
And then you do the Let's Talk PlayStation every Friday, right? Yep,
news every Friday. All the happenings going on in the PlayStation business. That's always every Friday. So,
and are you on Spawncast too? Do you do podcast too? Are you on a podcast?
Yeah, I recently joined the crew. I'm not on every week, but I'll try to show up every time when I can. And then me and John are also doing Click our 3 Hour PlayStation podcast.
And is that on your channel or on his channel? Is that on its own channel?
That's on the Spawnwave Network channel, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's a separate channel.
Very cool. Well, guys, make sure you go and you sub to all his stuff, and it's great content. If you're into PlayStation, I honestly can't think of these 3 gentlemen here who are better for PlayStation content. Seriously, like this was a lot of fun for me as somebody who's like, I'm just more of a fan who talks about PlayStation. I've been watching all of you guys for years, so this was really cool. I had a lot of fun, and I hope everybody here enjoyed it. We're going to wrap up the show, and I just want to say thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you had a lot of fun. This Thursday will be no show because we've done 3 shows in 3 days, 4 days or something. That's too many. And like I don't have anything else to say to you assholes for like a week. I need like some time. I need some things to happen. I need to get some new games and stuff. You know what I mean? So we're gonna take off this Thursday. And then the following Thursday should be Nerdy Nick from the N Squared podcast should be coming back on the show for his second appearance, which should be a good time. That'll be the 22nd. So I hope you guys sub, follow, like, share, subscribe, leave comments. Start fights. Oh, let me think of some. PlayStation's better than everything else. Nintendo sucks. Sega's lame. Leave comments below if you disagree. Leave comments. I'm just trying to get you guys to leave comments. I don't care. I don't do any of that. But yeah, that's it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening.
Have a good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.
Later.
You found the coolest place to be, the PlayStation collecting tips, and come on, won't you stay with me? Welcome to the show. Yeah. Show!